Like I revised in the previous class, I'll quickly go through the information because if I revise it will take more than 1 hour, so I may not continue and complete the today's topic. So I'll quickly complete so that we'll have some kind of recapitulation of the previous classes information. Okay, so periods of English literature or ages in English literature basically starts from 450 AD with old English literature, which is very difficult to understand. Beowulf is a lesson or the epic poem in the old English literature. That was the one of the most important epic poems in English literature. So 450 to 1066 English we called as the old English period or old English literature. Then from 1066 to 1500 we consider it as the middle English literature. Now in this middle English literature, again we further divided that age into 3 subdivisions. So let us go quickly, let us see what are the 3 subdivisions we have divided. So from 1066 AD to 1500 we call middle English period. Again this period we have divided 1066 to 1350 Anglo-Norman period. Okay, and now what was the features of this period? We have to understand history first, then we can understand the literature of that particular age. So political history of that age is the church became very dominant, or Catholics were very dominant compared to Protestants, and church introduced miracle plays, mystery plays or morality plays to establish their domination over the society. Unlettered, uneducated people, they used to convince people that church is the strongest hold or church is greater than the state. And then during that period English language becomes simple and Hastings, Normans, Saxons united, and they had developed the sense of nationality or a kind of feeling that the entire England becomes to one single state. And then comes the birth of Chaucer in 1340, who is considered as the first great literary figure in English literature. And that literature which was written during this middle ages is primarily meant for the lower middle class people. Miracle plays, mystery plays, morality plays, all are meant for the lower middle class people. The church wanted to show this plays and they want to attract the people towards their religion. And then in 1352, from 1350 to 1400 we consider it as age of Chaucer. So Chaucer is actually the age dictator of this particular period. And in 1382 John Wycliffe had completed translation of Bible into English from Latin. And if we discuss the Geoffrey Chaucer, he is the first poet in English literature. He is known as Prince of Plagiaries, that means copy others' books, claims as his own. So he is also copies from so many Greek and Latin literature, but he became so famous because of the Canterbury Tales, and he introduced heroic couplet. So there are so many books written by him, but popular books of Geoffrey Chaucer are the Canterbury Tales, the Book of Duchess, also known as the Death of Blanche, and Trelos and Cressida. So this is a story about the Canterbury Tales. It's a collection of 24 stories that runs over 17,000 lines, written in the Middle English by Geoffrey Chaucer. Geoffrey Chaucer is a narrator and it talks about so many stories. Actually he planned to complete 120 stories, but he could complete only 24 stories. So 2 stories on onward journey and 2 stories on downward journey, that was the plan. And then few minor poets were there in this age. One is William Longline, he had written Piers Plowman, and then John Grover had written Confessio Amarantis, and Thomas Morley's Lee Mortar the author. And there were a group of people who sincerely followed Chaucer. So these are called Scottish Chaucerians. They are King James I of Scotland. You should remember this name because now we are going to connect this name in the coming class. Maybe within 10-15 minutes we are going to connect this name. So King James I of Scotland, he is known as Scottish Chaucerian. He is follower of this Chaucer. And then Robert Henryson and William Dunbar and Gavin Douglas. So from 1066 to 1350 is Anglo-Norman period, and 1350 to 1400 is the age of Chaucer, and from 1400 to 1550 is a revival of learning, transition period, because previous to Chaucer there was no great poet, and after Chaucer also near 150 years there were no great literature, there were no great poets compared to in comparison with Chaucer, unless Edmund Spenser came in the Elizabethan era. So this is about the Middle English period. Okay, and now we have 1500 to 1660, the Renaissance or early modern, and it is again we have divided 1558 to 1603 Elizabethan period, then again Jacobean period, then Carolean period, then comes the Commonwealth period at Puritan Intigram, which we are going to complete in this class only. So in this session we are going to complete the introduction for Jacobean period, Caroline period, Commonwealth period, or it is also called Puritan Interagram. All those things we are going to complete. So let me not elaborately explain all these things. Elizabethan age is known as the golden age in English literature. It is an intellectual age. It is age of poetry, and there is peace at home and abroad. And Elizabeth I ruled England very peacefully, and she made England wealthy, prosperous. But she is a virgin queen. So she is considered. She improved the living standards because she promoted trade and it brought a lot of wealth. And during her age, during Elizabethan age, Edmund Spenser is a very remarkable and notable poet, and he had written the Fairy Queen in Spenserian stanza, and he is called Poet's Poet by Charles Lamb, and he is also known as the child of Renaissance and Reformation. It is also called by Lamb. And the Fairy Queen actually Edmund Spenser planned to write Fairy Queen in 24 books, but he could complete only 6 books, and this is the sequence of the books and the main characters in those books. And then Edmund Spenser had written even Shepherd Calendar, and it is about 12 pastoral poems related to the rural life. And then there is one more, Thomas Sackville, The Mirror for Magistrates, and Sir Philip Sidney, Arcadia. So these are the minor poets compared to Edmund Spenser. Then comes the greatest literary figure in the Elizabethan age, not only the Elizabethan age, even the history of English literature, and he is none other than Shakespeare, or William Shakespeare. So he is known as the greatest playwright in England. Most of us we knew about him, so I don't want to again repeat William Shakespeare's biography. He had written 37 plays and 3 plays in collaboration with John Fletcher, and he had written narrative poems Venus and Adonis, The Rape of Lucretia, and The Phoenix and the Turtle. He had written 154 sonnets, 126 addressed to Earl of Southampton, 26 A Dark Lady or his mistress, dedicated to Mr. W.H. published by Thomas Thorpe 1609, and then Henry VIII completed by his friend Fletcher. And for Shakespeare's histories, the source for his Shakespeare's histories is Holinshed Chronicles, and for Shakespeare tragedies it is Plutarch Lives or Thomas North's translation. So Thomas North has translated the Plutarch Lives, and he worked in Lord Chamberlain's Men and King's Men. Okay, and then John Hemmings and Henry Condell published first folio of Shakespeare's plays in 1623, and one of the plays which is not found in that folio is Pericles, Prince of Tyre. It is not included. And there were few university wits, Christopher Marlowe, Robert Greene, Thomas Nash. These were the university educated, Cambridge educated, and Oxford educated university wits were John Lilly, Thomas Lodge, and George Peele. Even Thomas Kidd was also sometimes considered as one of the university wits. And Thomas Lodge Rosalinda's Mardigal is the inspiration for As You Like It. If you see the Rosalinda, even the central character in As You Like It play also, Rosalinda is a central character, a heroine who went in disguise and saves an Orlando and marries Orlando at the end of the play. And then Thomas Kidd, the Spanish tragedy Hieronyma is Mad Again, is a source of inspiration for Hamlet, for Shakespeare to write Hamlet. So Spanish tragedy is an Elizabethan tragedy, or Shakespeare's Hamlet is an Elizabethan tragedy. There is blood, killing, violence, everything was shown on the stage. Elizabethan tragedy is meant for the audience who like to enjoy watching all this kind of violence on the stage. And there is one more way of comedy and one more way of drama, Senecan tragedy. It is only meant for reading. And then a few books in connection with Shakespeare. Tales of Shakespeare is written by Charles Lamb, meant for children, and A.C. Bradley written the Shakespearean tragedy. And Ruskin says that Shakespeare has no heroes, he has only heroines. And Ben Jonson called Shakespeare as a sweet swan of Avon, and Samuel Johnson has written preface to Shakespeare. And Shakespeare's last play is The Tempest. It has the unity of time, unity of space, and unity of time space. What is another one? Time, space, and am I audible?
Action. Action.
Right, time, space, and action. Then Shakespeare wrote his plays in blank verse, and he had written Titus Andronicus in collaboration with Green Peele. It is not Marlowe, it is Green Pile, and he had taken the plots translation of Greek, Roman, other European stories, and he worked as a stable boy in London. And Julius Caesar is the transition pay. Next, if we come to next, another notable figure or prominent writers or companions or comparative figures in Elizabethan period is Christopher Marlowe. He created anti-hero who is an adventurous hero, and Christopher Marlowe is considered as the leader of university wits. He had written few books, The Jew of Malta, Edward III Tamburlaine, and Dr. Faustus is a famous book of Christopher Marlowe. And then Shakespeare remembered Marlowe as the dead shepherd in As You Like It. If you come to the play today, we may discuss the play also. I have written the notes for As You Like It. So in this play, Shakespeare remembered Christopher Marlowe as the dead shepherd, and Ben Jonson called Marlowe's mighty line. So what is Marlowe's mighty line? It is blank verse. And then Ben Jonson said about Shakespeare, he knew little Latin and less Greek, and he is of not any age but for all time. In fact, even university wits, especially Green, criticize Shakespeare. He says that Green's groats worth of wit, an abstract crow beautified without feather. That means, how come a country boy, how come a village boy without much great education, how could he understand the psyche of human, and how could he produce such kind of great literature in English? So he was considered as a copy, he copied plots from so many great books, and he had just convinced the Elizabethan audience to watch his plays. So that was one of his greatness, which we have already understood. So this is about Shakespeare and Shakespeare contemporaries. And now if we come to Shakespearean tragedy, the Shakespearean tragedy has little deviation from the classical comedy or Aristotelian standards of tragedy, sorry. So what are the Shakespearean tragedy features? Noble birth, all main characters are from noble birth, a tragic hero, and they fall from heights of glory to the depths of degradation, and every main character or protagonist has this tragic flaw. Those tragic heroes has tragic flaw, and there is a touch of supernatural elements in Shakespearean tragedy, and there is comic relief. Earlier to Shakespeare, nobody dared to introduce a mix comedy and tragedy, but in tragedy also Shakespeare introduced comic relief. And then all these tragic heroes, Shakespearean tragic heroes, arouse sympathy when we watch the play or when we read the play, and he used number of soliloquies. That is, soliloquies is one of the elements of or features of Shakespearean tragedy, and there will be conflict within and conflict without. That means in and out they have suffering. And we completed Hamlet, and then we completed Macbeth, and then we completed Julius Caesar. And then in last session, I suppose we completed letter writing and all those things. And then we discussed even Shakespearean comedy. As like Shakespearean tragedy, Shakespearean comedy also has some kind of features. So what are the features of Shakespearean comedy? There are noble characters also. Shakespeare included even noble characters. Shakespeare tried to create fun even with the noble characters. Generally, in the classical tradition of writing and drama, noble characters are meant for tragedy, and a commoners are meant for comedy. But he has even used noble characters in Shakespearean comedy also. And in Shakespearean comedy, heroines got importance, and there is a mistaken identity or misconceptions. They will have difference of opinions or difference in ideas, and then exaggerating our own follies and mistakes. It is not about killing all those things. It is showing about exaggerating own follies. And then there will be a sudden twist in plots, or he used multiple plot lines. And then didactic in nature, that means these comedies are meant to teach something for the audience, and then they introduced interesting songs and dances in his comedies, but not in tragedies. And then element of disguise, and then idyllic setting, that means he used Forest of Arden as SS Mother, where this Forest of Arden is a place where the evil people, bad people also, they'll change their character, they'll transform their character into good people. And then fate plays crucial role. And then next feature is separation and reunification. All comedies ends in happy ending, and the poetic justice, good for good and bad for bad people. And the three unities which we discussed in this are unity of action, that means logical connection between two episodes or acts. For example, if the king died, then in act of grief the queen died. So there is a connection between two actions. And then unity of place or space, and unity of time. So these are the three unities. Example, the Shakespearean play which followed all these three unities is tempest. But in Aristotle in 16th century, he could say that unity of place and space, unity of time. All these universityvids who studied at universities, who seriously followed the classical way of writing tragedy, they couldn't find the unity of time, because on stage, on the drama, in the drama on the stage, they can't show how a boy progresses and matures into a man. So that was a problem, but Shakespeare beautifully did this one, and he made everything possible on the stage by taking a little deviation. And then these are the examples for the Shakespearean comedy. And then now let us, a Tempest was also a comedy, I couldn't explain, but I'll explain today the Tempest play, and As You Like It also. I suppose most of you have read As You Like It, so I may not explain in detail, but I'll explain Tempest, because this is the play which followed all the three unities. So up to here, if you have any questions, you can ask me quickly. Any questions?
So there is a question in the test that in how many periods did Shakespeare life is divided? I have given 4 options, but here you have mentioned that 4 is incorrect, 3 periods will be right. But I have searched many where, sir, it is written 4 periods.
I have corrected again that one. After you submit it, I corrected. You can check again.
Okay. And Diksha, one more question is there that you are telling me, I forgot. Can you please tell me?
Tell me.
So the one question is there about that the poem is of blank verse or free verse. So that one also.
Yeah, correct. I corrected all those mistakes. I corrected whatever it was mistake. It was actually blank verse, but wrongly selected as free verse. Correct?
Free verse, yes. Sir,
So
yes.
I corrected all those things. It was around 7 or 8.
Yes, sir. That I noticed when I completed the test. I got 93, and when I see the result, I had got 107. Then only I have understood, sir, that you have corrected.
I corrected, because when I was preparing the question paper in hurry, I prepared the questions. I didn't sometimes check for right answer, wrong answer, because my motto was to first complete the question paper so that you can practice once. And if there are any correction that I can do, once I correct, you will get the right answer for the right marks. I suppose 7 or 8 corrections I did. Then only afterwards the score released.
And sir, please provide that PDF, sir.
Yes, I am doing that one. But what I did is, when I converted the Google form into PDF, it is coming into one form, but it shows actually Google form structure only. You want the same kind of thing?
Yes, sir. Means I want that whenever I am copying those questions, answer should be there, sir. So I'll write it together.
Right.
I also want to see the answer, sir.
Right. Yesterday I tried that one. It is not so difficult. It is actually very easy. Only thing is I have to make it as a PDF copy, but the structure remains same. It is not like a PDF document converted from Word document. That is different.
Okay, sir.
I'll do that. Yesterday I tried. It's like just within 1 minute I can convert the Google form into PDF. I'll share that one. There is no problem with that. Okay. Any more questions?
No, sir.
Right. Now I'll explain Tempest. As You Like It is a very famous play by Shakespeare, so everybody must have studied. So I don't want to take much time to explain As You Like It. So Tempest is the one play in which Shakespeare followed all those principles like unity of time, unity of place, and unity of action. And this Tempest is a play which is in perfection. That means Shakespeare followed all the rules and regulations. So let us discuss this one. So genre of this, of course the characters are there. Prospero is a central character, and then Ferdinand, Alonso's who falls in love with Miranda. It's a love at first sight story. And then Miranda is Prospero's daughter who was exiled with him. And then Ariel is a spirit. Ariel is a spirit, not your washing powder. Ariel, a spirit of the air who helps a Prospero in exchange of promise of freedom. And then Caliban is a slave on the island, half witch and half devil. And then if we come to Antonio, Prospero's brother who seized his Duke kingdom. So Prospero and Antonio, it's a brother and it's a brother's rivalry. Prospero was the actually king, and then he seizes. Antonio seizes his power. And then Stefano, Alphonse butler who plots with Caliban to murder Prospero, and then Trinculo, Alcyon's jester, who plots with Caliban to all these people want to murder Prospero, and Sebastian, Alcyon's brother, who plot to murder the king and seize the throne. So these are the characters. And Alonso, king of Naples, who profited from the seizure of Prospero's dukedom. So let us come to the story. The genre of this play is, it's a comedy, okay, and the main theme is love at first sight. When let us go. So who is the Prospero? He is the earlier Duke of Milan, but he lost his power to his brother. What is the name of his brother? What is the name of his brother? Antonio. So he is Prospero's brother who seized his kingdom. So earlier Prospero was the Duke of Milan, but Antonio sent him to exile. He thrown him and he became the Duke of his kingdom, or earlier Duke of Milan. And then the hero in this play is Ferdinand and heroine is Miranda. You heard about the Miranda drink, so same Miranda here. And the speciality of Miranda is she has not seen a man since childhood except her father. They were living in a small island and Prospero knows magic. So he and his daughter, daughter Miranda has seen only Prospero as a man. So when she saw Ferdinand, when the ship was washed into that island, when Miranda saw Ferdinand, the handsome guy, she fell in love. So love at first sight also we can take. If anybody asks you the comedy and what happened to Miranda, it was a love at first sight. Okay. So heroine is Miranda. She has not seen a man since childhood except her father. And one more important character, all are important but examination point of view I am speaking. Caliban is a deformed slave and is a son of a witch, and the name of the witch is Sycorax. So Caliban is a deformed slave of Prospero and he is son of Sycorax, and Sycorax is a witch. And this comedy is written in 5 acts. Even tragedy also written in 5 acts. Most of the Shakespearean dramas or plays are written in 5 acts. The Tempest is the last play by Shakespeare without others' collaboration. That means Tempest is the one play purely written by Shakespeare. And Ferdinand and Miranda play, okay, then when they washed into the shore, actually Prospero did the magic and the ship washed into the shore, and when Ferdinand met Miranda, Miranda fell in love with Ferdinand, Ferdinand fell in love with Miranda, but Prospero knew everything, but he wanted to check whether Ferdinand really loved Miranda or not. He conducted so many tests to Ferdinand, like nowadays, in movies the heroine's father will be so villain, so he will conduct so many tests and hero passes in all those tests. Likewise Ferdinand cleared all the tests in flying color, and then they finally played, Ferdinand and Miranda's play chess in the play, because they may ask you a question, which game may Ferdinand and Miranda play in the Tempest? So it is chess, they play chess. And then Miranda and Prospero and Ariel, there are few famous quotations are there, or statements are there. They may give you the statements and you have to find out who said that statement. So Miranda's statement, good wombs have borne bad sons. And Prospero says, sweet are the uses of adversity. This is a very famous quote. So many times in exams they ask you this quotation, sweet are the uses of adversity, from which play it was taken and who said this statement. So it is the sweets are the uses of adversity. It is from Tempest and it is written by Prospero. Where, which act, which scene, you have to find out. And then Ariel said one statement, full 5 fathom deep tide farther dwells, typing mistake. So this is a statement or quote by Ariel, who is an airy spirit. Ariel means a spirit of the air who helps Prospero in exchange for the promise of freedom. So Prospero promised Ariel that if he does his work, he will give freedom to Ariel. Then now the summary, it's a small paragraph I have copied from internet. Prospero uses magic to conjure a storm and torment the survivors. So what is the summary? Prospero, who is the central character of the play The Tempest. What is Tempest? It is cyclone. So he created a cyclone and he made the ship to wash to the shore into their island, and then he cast spell and he cast magic on over them, and they didn't understand what actually happened. So Prospero uses magic to conjure a storm and torment the survivors of shipwreck, including the King of Naples, King of Naples, and Prospero's treacherous brother Antonio. Prospero's slave Caliban, because with his magic he made Caliban a slave in that island, plots to rid himself of his master, but is thwarted by Prospero's spirit servant Ariel. So Ariel safeguards Prospero. The king's young son Ferdinand, thought to be dead, falls in love with Prospero's daughter Miranda. Their celebrations are cut short when Prospero confronts his brother and reveals his identity as the unspurred Duke of Milan. So, because with his magic he could, with his magic Prospero made Antonio not to understand who is this guy, but actually at the end he made his identity clear. The families at the end, the families are reunited and all conflicts is resolved. Prospero grants Ariel his freedom and prepares to leave the island. So this is actually a play of Elizabethan age. That means Elizabethan age, as we discussed, Queen Elizabeth supported the people to travel far beyond they can see, far beyond they can understand. So in the same way, these not only Shakespeare, even the contemporary Shakespeare also could write something which human perception cannot reach or humans fail to understand till that period. So Tempest is also a kind of a play where you can see a lot of magic, lot of love and all these things. Before to Elizabethan age, these were the not concepts of the drama. So this is a brief summary about the Tempest, Cyclone, actually the meaning, written by Shakespeare, and it is a comedy. And then if you come to, you read, it is not like within 10-5 minutes you will get 100% information about the Tempest. I have introduced the Tempest to you. Whenever you get time, you read the Tempest, you understand why it is so important in examination point of view. And then as you like it, it is very easy play and everybody knew about this one. It is also comedy, and Rosalinda falls in love with Orlando when Orlando challenges one person in the court. Then when he was fighting with that person, Rosalind saw that one match and he fall in Orlando. She gives a necklace or some kind of bracelet to Orlando. So this was like a normal story of a boy falling in love with girl falling in love with boy. So this is a small thing. So what is this inspiration for Shakespeare is the plot is Rosalind. It is a 14th century poem, The Tale of Glim, written by Thomas Lord. So Shakespeare has copied or Shakespeare has taken inspiration of the plot Rosalinda and he had written the play As You Like It. So the central character is of course Rosalind, and it is about a simple copy mistake then. So hero is Orlando and heroine is Rosalind. It is also 5 acts play. So it is a summary. Rosalind and her cousin escape into the forest and find Orlando. So when she fell in love and all these brothers and fighting, Rosalind and her cousin escape into the forest and find Orlando, Rosalinda's love. Disguised as a boy shepherd, Rosalind has Orlando woo her under the guise of curing him of his love for Rosalind. Rosalind reveals she is a girl and marries Orlando during group ending at the end of the play. All Shakespearean comedies ends with happy ending. There was no bloodshed, there was no war, there was no fighting. Happy endings are the one of the features of Shakespeare's comedies. And these are the some quotations which are very important as per examination point of view. This one, the fool doth think he is wise, but the wise man knows himself to be a fool. It is found in Act 5, Scene 1. Touchstone says to William. Then very famous, and this poem is part of class 9th NCERT textbook, but somewhere it is in English textbook in CBSE. All worlds is stage and all men and women mere players. It is told by Jacques in Act 2, Scene 7. Then under the greenwood tree, it is means Act 2, Scene 5. Then this is of course Rosalinda's Act 1, Scene 3. Beauty provokes thieves sooner than gold. So beauty attracts thieves more than gold. Do you not know I am a woman when I think I must speak, by Rosalind, Act 3, Scene 2. Very, very prompt. And then last one, I pray you do not fall in love with me, for I am falser than was made in wine, said Rosalind in Act 3, Scene 5. So this is a story about a Shakespearean comedy, As You Like It. And the inspiration, the important information you have to remember is what is the source for Shakespeare and what are the statements or quotations given by the actors in the play. So it is a Rosalind written by Thomas Lodge, and one more name is The Tale of Gamelin is the inspiration for Shakespeare to write As You Like It. So any questions up to here? Shall we continue?
Yes, sir.
Right, all are here. So first 1 hour I will explain because I don't want you to waste time in the first 1 hour. Then after that we'll start interaction, so that if you have any questions, any doubts with related to the subject, you can ask me if I could complete the syllabus of that particular day. Okay, so let us start. So during what you call Renaissance or early modern, we could complete only Elizabethan period. After Elizabethan period, Jacobean age starts. But let us understand what is the greatness about Elizabethan age, so that we can connect with Jacobean age. Elizabeth I, who is a virgin queen, devoted her life to the prosperity, wealth of people of England and England. She made the trade successful, and she favored both Catholics and Protestants, and she brought peace at home and abroad. During her rule, the England started ruling so many other countries. But suddenly when Queen Elizabeth I died, there were no heirs, or there were no legal heirs for the kingdom, because she is a virgin and she has no children. So after Queen Elizabeth I, now who has to come to the throne, or who has to become the king of the, or queen of the England, was a big issue. So people were discussing who can become the king of England or who can become the queen of England. Then most favorable condition or most favorable person was his nephew James, but he is from Scotland. Okay, so Jacobean age, the question is, who is Jacob? That comes the biggest question in our mind. Who is Jacob? Because we don't have any kind of reference of Jacob in English literature. But who is Jacob? So it is a Latin word. Jacobus means James. So for James, in Latin we call Jacob. So that is the reason why this is known as a Jacobean age. It is James the first, but we call it as a Jacobean age because in Latin Jacobs means James. So James the first is the who became king after Queen's death. So that is the transition of power from Queen Elizabeth the first to King James the first. So this is the transition. So his rule, Jacobean age, is in between 1603 to 1625. So Jacobus is a Latin word, means James. So King James the first is the king after Elizabeth I. You need to remember the chronology also. Alfred first, you can remember Alfred the Great, and then came William of Normandy or Duke of Normandy, and after that there were so many minor kings, and then comes Elizabeth I. After Elizabeth I, King James the first is the prominent figure in periods or English period. So he is not only a famous king, he also published 4 books, and one of the most famous books of his age, A Counterblast to Tobacco, which was published in 1604, and 1611 Bible was translated in English. Already once Bible was translated, but again in 1611 Bible was translated into English, and that is known as James the first version of the Bible, or James I version of the Bible, and this is the authorized version of the Bible. Earlier also somebody translated the Bible from Latin into English, okay, but this Bible is known as the authorized version of the Bible, and it was translated in 1611, James the I version of the Bible. And prominent literary figures of Jacobean age, see, Shakespeare was even in Elizabethan period and he continued even in Jacobean period. So prominent literary figures were Shakespeare, Ben Jonson, who is known as literary dictator after Shakespeare, and Beaumont, Fletcher, Webster, Townshend, Ford, Middleton and Rowley. So these were the contemporaries of Shakespeare, and these were also part of Jacobean age. So Shakespeare started his journey during Elizabethan age and became very famous during Jacobean age. and there were few famous poets also. John Donne and Drayton were two of the most famous of the lyric poets of the period. Bacon and Robert Burton were best known prose writers. So King James the First, or James the First, when he became the king of the England, he started ruling the country as like Queen Elizabeth I. He promoted art, he promoted literature. So now let us understand the historical background, because King James the First, he was beheaded. James the First is also a prominent figure in English literature. So let us understand the historical background of that particular age. So James the I of England and 5th King of Scotland ascended the throne of England after the death of Queen Elizabeth in 1603. So that is the reason why 1603 is the beginning of Jacobean age. Queen Elizabeth died childless. That's why her cousin from Scotland, he is a cousin, not nephew, he is a cousin from Scotland, was called the King of England. So this was the reason why James the First or James VI of Scotland became the King of England, because there were no successors, there was no there was nothing was written by Queen Elizabeth who to become or who to get the power after her death. And then one more important point we have to remember is King James was a Protestant and married to a Catholic queen. Already I explained the difference between Catholics and Protestants. Basically Catholics worship Mother Mary, Protestants worship Jesus, or they believe in the Trinity, Father, Soul and Spirit. Three things are there. And but though he is a Protestant, he married a Catholic queen. And then in 1604 there was very important incident happened, that is divine rights of kings proclaimed. Now try to understand this one. Divine rights of kings. When they proclaimed this thing in 1604, it gave power to the kings. That means according to divine rights of kings, according to it, kings were the representative of God or representatives of God and thus answerable to him alone. That means according to this divine rights, doctrine of divine rights, the kings are not answerable, not accountable for their actions to the common people. They are beyond parliament, they are beyond church, they are beyond everybody. If they commit a mistake, only they are responsible, only they have to give answer to God. But this created a lot of confusion, lot of furor, lot of agitation in England, because if rulers are not responsible for their actions to the general public, then they can create any kind of laws, any kind of draconian laws or any kind of rules and regulations they can form, and they can make the lives of people or commoners to suffer like anything. So this was the point where common people, normal people, they started disliking the queen and king and the establishment of monarchy and all those things. So doctrine of divine rights proclaimed in 1604, according to its kings were the representative of God and thus answerable to him alone, and they are not responsible for their actions, or they are not going to give answers to the common people. You remember this one, divine rights of kings, which was proclaimed in 1604. And then as I told you that in 1611 James the First version of Bible was published, and it is known as the authorized version of the Bible. But how it was made? 47 translators were appointed to write authorized version of Bible in 1611. So James the one who supported the literature, literary art and work and all those things, he appointed 47 translators to write authorized version of Bible in 1611. And then as these people didn't like James the First, because he proclaimed the doctrine of rights, that means king is not answerable. So there were so many people who were unhappy with his rule and they wanted to kill him. And the most famous of these plots were the gunpowder plot. In November 1605, a group of Roman Catholics, so they were against James the One because he is a Protestant. Like in Hindus, Vaishnavas and Shaivas, there was also a conflict between Protestants and Catholics, though they belong to the same religion. Always, everywhere is there, even in Islam also, Sufis and Sunnis. So likewise, even in this is also Protestants and Catholics, they were opposite. So what they did, in November 1605, a group of Roman Catholics planned to blow up the English House of Parliament as its opening by the king. to create a Roman Catholic rising in the Midland and secure a toleration for Catholics. One of the conspirators, Francis Tresham, betrayed. Guy Fawkes, the leader, was discovered ready to fire and was executed along with 8 other conspirators. So during his period, the conflict between Protestants and the Catholics reached to the heights. Now what you have to understand, because of this religious problem, or two sects in the same religion, there was no great literature produced, and people of that age like Shakespeare and all those things, they were actually started during Elizabethan period, and that Elizabethan period, what you call greatness, continued in the Jacobean period. But especially from Jacobean period, if you try to understand, there were not so many great poets or great playwrights during Jacobean age. Now we have to understand few topics in examination point of view. There were few dramatists of Jacobean age. See, if you see here, Shakespeare is not considered under dramatist of Jacobean age, he considered about under Elizabethan age. So who are those dramatists of Jacobean age? Ben Jonson. After Shakespeare, Ben Jonson is considered to be a very prominent figure in English literature, and then Francis, then John Fletcher, John Webster, Philip, John Ford, James Shirley, and George Herbert. So these were the dramatists of Jacobean age. And then there were major prose writers of Jacobean age. They are Francis Bacon. Francis Bacon is a very famous prose writer. If you read his story, you will feel wonder how could this gentleman ruin his life, okay, by taking bribery, by taking bribe. Though he became Lord Chancellor also, he took bribe and he was dismissed from the service, and then he produced the greatest literature. He had written a lot of ideas which were new to the Elizabethan age, new to the Jacobean age. So Francis Bacon is Lord Chancellor, and he had written Advancement of Learning. That means he tried to make people to understand learning not only by reading and by hearting the religious textures, religious scriptures. You can understand things, or you can learn things through observation only. That was the first time the idea was promoted by Francis Bacon. And then Novum Organum Centenarium, or the New Instrument. These were the famous books written by Francis Bacon. Please make time somehow and read about Francis Bacon. Very fascinating story about Francis Bacon. And then there are metaphysical poets. Who are those metaphysical poets? We'll discuss very clearly in the next coming lessons in this class only, but let me introduce you the metaphysical poets. So physical means worldly things, metaphysical means beyond these worldly things. So general poetry, pastoral poetry means worldly things, like pastoral poetry means connected with the rural life. But here metaphysical poetry, metaphysical poets means they can write something beyond our human perception, beyond this materialistic world, beyond our sensory organs can understand. So those are called metaphysical poets. And John Donne, Andrew Marvell, Henry Vaughan, George Herbert, Richard Clarke. There are few more things, few more poets are there. Let me introduce you afterwards. Now, what are the common features of metaphysical poetry? It is also of course poetry. But it is named as metaphysical poetry, beyond the materialistic things. Metaphysical poetry is characterized by a subtle, complex and concentrated thought. It is intellectually rigorous. It is very difficult to understand their ideas in the poetry. It employs bold and ingenious conceits, also called metaphysical conceits. So it is about same thing, like a kind of a simile, but the tenor and the vehicle has no kind of similarity. And Johnson's called it a combination of dissimilar images. I told you, like that day, if I talk about love and if I show you a heart symbol, you can understand the similarity between love and heart. But if I talk about love and if I show a dustbin, that day you all laugh. No, dustbin also correct symbol for love, but there is no similarity between these two images. So called a combination of dissimilar images. Example in his poem, A Valediction Forbidding Morning. Donne compares the two lovers to a compass. And metaphysical poetry employs unusual images taken from different fields of knowledge, history, geography, astronomy, alchemy, mathematics, etc. So they can take any subject, anything, and they can write poetry. And it is too difficult to understand metaphysical poetry unless the poet gives information how to understand the poet and how to understand the poem. It is like a joke cracked by somebody, and to understand the joke he gave 1 hour explanation about how to understand the joke. It has a dramatic quality to it and often has an abrupt aggressive opening. It frequently makes use of paradox. So these are a few common features of metaphysical poetry. So during Jacobean age, James the First, he became the king of England because Queen Elizabeth I has no children, so her cousin from Scotland became the king of England. But during his time, it was a turbulent period. There was clashes, there were fights, there was unrest in the kingdom because of Catholics and Protestants. They were not in good terms. So this is about the period of Jacobean age. Any questions?
No, sir.
I'll ask you 2-3 questions. You give me in chorus answer. Francis Bacon belongs to which age?
Jacobean age.
Shakespeare belongs to which age?
Elizabethan
age.
Elizabethan age. Edmund Spencer belongs to which age?
Elizabethan age.
Elizabethan age.
Ben Jonson belongs to which age?
Jacobean age.
Jacobean age.
Right. Alright. So you should have that much clarity because in examination they will ask you, they will give you a name and they may ask you to which period or to which age this particular literary figure belongs to. Right. So let us continue. Up to here, any confusion is there? You try to understand in this way so that you can connect information. Because when I studied first time, it was little difficult for, not little, it was very difficult for me to remember the things. See, the first page, if you see, 452,066 Old English literature, very simple, one literary work, Beowulf, you will remember. There is no much difficult. Middle English literature, if you come, then this Middle English literature is divided into 3 phases. And morality plays, miracle plays, history plays, all those things comes into the picture. So little information is little extended. So you have to remember a few more information compared to Old English. But when it come to 1500 to 1660, the Renaissance, early modern, you have to remember a lot of information this age, especially the Elizabethan age, especially most importantly Shakespeare. So whenever you read, you should read, or whenever you revise, what I mean to say, whenever you read or whenever you revise literature in examination point of view, you should read in this sequence. Then what will happen, if whenever you read Old English literature, you complete all the connections, all the stories, all the plots, all the books connected to the Old English literature. In the same way, when you start Middle English literature, you complete reading of all those works, poets, dramatists, prose writers, all those people of that particular age. Don't intermix. Don't read from one person from Milton. Don't go to Edmund Spencer. Don't come to T.S. Eliot. If you do in that way, your brain will not understand, and even if it understands, it is very difficult for your brain to process the information. So read in a proper sequence. So whenever you read English literature, or whenever you prepare for an exams, go in this sequence. So you will understand step by step, and in examination also it will be easy for you to recollect what you have read. So we are here in only we completed Old English literature and Middle English literature. Now we are in Renaissance or early modern, and we could complete only Elizabethan age and Jacobean age. So Elizabethan age starts from 1558 to 1603. Elizabeth I is the great historical figure in this age, and in 1603 to 1625 James I is the king of England. Now after James I, who comes in the Caroline age? Let us understand. So what I am trying to tell you, again I'll repeat, whenever you read Elizabethan age, read all the important books, writers, and don't intermix them. That means don't start reading Elizabethan age, don't come directly to Edwardian period, and you will become confused like Edwardian period confused. So read step by step, read in a proper method of approach. So let us go back to why I repeatedly telling you, see, you're all postgraduates, graduates, you have completed your post graduation, but still when you go for competitive examinations, why you are not able to score marks, why you are not able to clear. There must be some problem with the strategy, not with your qualification. There is some problem with the strategy, that's why you are not able to clear. So the first quality, one of the reasons why we can't clear exams is lack of clarity over the preparation. So that is what I am trying to tell you. You read whatever you want to read, but read according to the periods. Complete your preparation step by step, and then when you revise also do in the step by step. Then finally before examinations you can intermix all those things. Then only you can understand the connection between this point to that point. For example, if you talk about John Milton, you should understand John Milton comes under which age, what is his greatness, what are the books he produced, how those books are connected to the previous age, and how those books become inspiration to the next age. For example, in the beginning of the classes I told you Virgil's Aeneid is inspiration for John Milton's Paradise Lost, and John Milton's Paradise Lost inspiration for Keats to write Hyperion. So in this way we have to connect the books, we have to connect the ages. Then it will become easy for you to remember, to understand and to recollect in the examinations. Okay, that is my point. So let us go with the next. So next age is Caroline age. It is again one more confusion why this is known as Caroline. I also used to get confused whether Caroline is a girl, woman or men. Also sometimes I used to get confused. So from 1625 to 1649 is the age of Caroline age. It comes under the Renaissance. After Elizabethan age, after Jacobean age, the next age is Caroline age. So who is this Caroline? He is a Charles the First, maybe pronunciation, Charles the First. The name is derived from Carolus. In the Latin, it is a version of Charles. So in Latin, Charles is known as Carolus. So that is why it is known as Caroline age. And during his age, during his time, there was English Civil War. See, in the previous age you understood James the One doctrine of rights made or gave kings unlimited power. They were not responsible for their actions, they were not answerable to the common people. So that created a lot of unrest. People tried to assassinate James the First. But when Charles the First came, it reaches to the peaks. Then what happened during his time? There was an English civil war or internal war between these Protestants and Catholics. And there are two groups, primarily supporters of Charles the One or Charles the First. Those are called Cavaliers. Remember this one. The supporters of Charles the First are known as Cavaliers, and supporters of Parliament are known as Roundhead. That means these people want the Parliament to become supreme. They don't want this kind of monarchy. They don't want kings to rule the country. They want the Parliament to establish the domination. So those people who support Parliament are a kind of republic nature, not democracy, republic in nature government. They are called Roundheads. Why were they called Roundheads? Because they have the custom of wearing their hair cut short. That means they must be having short haircut. So that's why they are known as Roundheads. So Roundheads are the supporters of Parliament, and Cavaliers are the supporters of Charles the One. Try to understand, England was not a democratic country that time. They were monarchs were there. It was ruled by kings and queens of England, and they used to get the power in heredity. So those people after Elizabethan age, once they came to know about other places, other knowledge, now they wanted to turn the country into a democratic country. So there was a parliament, not just for namesake. House of Lords and House of Commons. House of Lords were dominant. House of Lords was dominant, and House of Commons were just for namesake. But the parliament supporters, they wanted to establish a democracy or republic, and they want to rule them by themselves. But the supporters of Charles I are known as Cavaliers. They don't want the Roundheads to dominate the country. So there was always fight, there was always quarrel, there was always a kind of a civil war in between the supporters of Charles I and the supporters of Parliament. And then in 1644, a very famous pamphlet published by Milton. So Milton belongs to Caroline age. He is a Puritan. We'll discuss Milton in detail coming classes. So in 1644 he published, 1649 and 1644 he published Aeropagitica, a pamphlet published by Milton. It is about freedom of speech. And then it was ended. The 1649 Caroline age was ended with Charles Charles the First was beheaded. The people revolted under the leadership of Cromwell, and they captivated Charles the First, and they beheaded Oliver Cromwell. Under his leadership, they beheaded the Charles the First. The entire Europe was shocked to witness this kind of incident when king was beheaded by the people. So that means this Caroline age ended with the Charles the First beheaded. He is often called as Charles the Martyr because he sacrificed his life, and Charles the First is known as Charles the Martyr, and he was beheaded under the leadership of Oliver Cromwell. So Oliver Cromwell became the dominant figure after the Caroline age. So until Caroline age, it was a rule of kings and queens and monarch of England. But when Charles the First was beheaded, there was complete unrest, and there was a new kind of republic, a new kind of democratic government was going to form in England. Let us not discuss this thing because this one, when we come discuss under Commonwealth period, I'll explain in detail. So this age 1625 to 1649 Caroline age, Charles the First was the king, and this age concluded with the beheading of Charles the First. And who are these Cavalier poets? These were the poets who believed in the ideals of Renaissance man, who was a lover, a soldier, a gallant, a man of affairs, musician, and a poet all at once. But Oliver Cromwell is a Puritan. Who is a Puritan? See, if you understand, there were two dominant sects in the sections in the religion, Christianity, Protestants and Catholics. But the hardcore Protestants, we can go with like this word, hardcore Protestants are Puritans. They were against all these kind of celebrations of Christmas. They were against having fun, enjoyment in life. We can call them as like a old Talibans. Now we can call Afghanistan people who was ruling Talibans. In those days, they can be considered them as the Talibans. So these were the people who believed the ideals of Renaissance, and Oliver Cromwell, who is exactly opposite to it, he is a Puritan. Now, what are the common features in the poetry of Cavalier poets? The Cavalier poets used direct and colloquial language expressive of a highly individual personality. Important themes in their poetry include the theme of honor and the theme of carpe diem, that means seize the day. You remember this word? Carpe diem means seize the day. Their poetry aims to entertain rather provoke the audience, because Charles the One tries to pacify the common people, tries to pacify these supporters of Parliament, because a doctrine of divine rights gave them unlimited power, and that was the reason why there was unrest. And these Protestants were against the Catholics, and Catholics were against the Protestants. And there were major Cavalier poets who were also known as sons of Ben, because they are seriously practiced Ben Jonson style of writing. And they were Robert Herrick, Thomas Cave, John Suckling, and Richard Lovelace. So these were the major Cavalier poets. And there were some major prose writers were there, Robert Burton and Sir Thomas Browne. So this is about the Caroline age. After Elizabethan age, Queen Elizabeth I, James I ruled England, and after James I, Charles I ruled the England, and in 1649 he was beheaded under the leadership of Cromwell, and there ends the monarchy, there ends the kings and queens rule of England, and there begins a new kind of government ruling over England, and that is known as Commonwealth period or Puritan interregnum. Any questions? Any questions from your side?
No, sir.
Okay. Who are the supporters of Charles the First?
Cavalier.
Okay. Who are the supporters of Parliament?
Roundheads.
Who had published Aeropagitica?
Milton.
It is about what?
Freedom of speech.
Freedom of speech.
Right. When was Charles the First was beheaded?
1649.
1649. Okay, right, fine. Right. Now try to remember this name, Oliver Cromwell. Okay. He is not from a noble family, but he became the Lord Protector after Charles the First was beheaded. And after Charles the First was beheaded, till 1660, till the end of Renaissance, this age is known as the Commonwealth period or the Puritan interagram. Let us first understand what is this Commonwealth. You must have studied, you must have understood Commonwealth literature, correct? Most of you have read Commonwealth literature. But what are these Commonwealth nations or Commonwealth countries? If you understand in this way, the countries which were under the domination of British or Britain were known as Commonwealth countries. But what is this Commonwealth period? When they become republic or when they have a parliament not ruled by monarch, so whatever wealth or whatever this comes in their hand, it should be given or it should be shared equally into to the public. If you don't understand at least Commonwealth period, try to understand what is Puritan interagram. So first try to understand who is a Puritan. Puritans were English Protestants, so Catholics and Protestants, two major sects. So Puritans were English Protestants in the 16th and 17th century who sought to purify the Church of England of Roman Catholic practices, maintaining that the Church of England had not been fully reformed and should become more Protestant. So these people were like modern Talibans. Music, art, dancing, drinking, excessive enjoyment, all those things were banned, and women have to wear proper clothing and no night parties. All those things were also imposed by Puritans in 16th and 17th century when they ruled England under Oliver Cromwell. So Oliver Cromwell became very prominent figure and he became Lord Protector during this period. This period is also divided into different stages. I'll explain later on that. Now let us understand what is this interregnum. Interregnum is also from word Latin. It is between, in between. That means after Charles the First was beheaded and to the next king who came and became King of England. Till that time, from 1649 to 1660, there was no ruler, there was no monarch, there was no king in England. So it may be little difficult to understand for us Indians, especially to that there was no king for a certain period of time in England. Yes, of course, and that period is known as the Commonwealth period, or it is Puritan interregnum. So in 1649, when Charles the First was beheaded, there was no king in England, and without a ruling monarch, first time in the history of England. And then who is the one who is ruling the country, or at least in the name like ruler? Oliver Cromwell. He is known as Lord Protector, and he banned all kinds of entertainments. So there are so much list of entertainments. He banned theaters, he banned drinking, he bans prostitution, he banned celebration of Christmas. He believed that Christmas celebration means Danny, are you there? Miss Danny?
Yes, sir.
So generally, how do you celebrate Christmas?
We celebrate Christmas by, going for Holy Mass in church, then decorating the houses, making Christmas cribs, Christmas trees, and so on.
And good feast at the end?
Yeah, good feast also.
Right. But Puritan, under Oliver Cromwell, they banned celebration of Christmas in this way. They believe that Christmas Day, it is meant for people to realize the importance of Christ's birth. Other than that, if anybody does anything beyond that, they will be punished. And so many Catholics were killed by Oliver Cromwell. So Oliver Cromwell can be considered as a modern Taliban. So during those days only theaters were closed. When theaters were closed, where is the scope for playwriting? Where is the scope for dramatists? So there were no plays, there was no dramas in those age. Only few literary works could be completed during that age. So theaters were closed, no literary work, and theaters opened only after this period over Puritan interregnum in 1660. And Charles II, he became the king of England after this Commonwealth period at Puritan Integram. You read about this Puritan Integram from your side. Sorry, from your side. So during this period, sorry. So during this period, what happened? The England has no king, and Oliver Cromwell became the Lord Protector. Actually, Oliver Cromwell directly not become Lord Protector. There are so many stages in this period also, from 1649 to 1660. Let us see the periods of interregnum. The first
Excuse
period.
me.
Who is this?
Okay.
Aditi.
Sir, theatres were closed in 1642. I think in the Charles period itself.
Theatres were closed in 1642. You are telling, ma'am?
Yeah, yes, sir.
Okay, I'll check later on. 1649 or 1642, I'll check. Okay, that is a question. Okay, I'll find out, ma'am. I'll find out. I'll clear that out.
Okay, sir.
Sorry. So after Oliver Cromwell, under his leadership, when they captivated Charles the First and when they beheaded the Charles the First, there was complete unrest, and the people were got confused what to, because till that time the House of Commons were just a nomin's sake, and the House of Lords were actually ruling the entire Parliament, or they were dominant. But after Oliver Cromwell came, they tried to establish a republican parliament, a democratic written constitution they want to prepare. So now there are some periods of the interregnum. The Commonwealth of England, 4 periods are there. First period is from 1649 to 1653. You can see 1649 to 1653. It ended in 1660, but from first period only 1649 to 1653, which was known as the Commonwealth of England. So in 1649, the Rump Parliament, you remember this one, the Rump Parliament declared England a Commonwealth, a free collection of people ruled by Parliament and not a king. So doctrine of divine rights was completely thrown into drains or dustbin, and they came with another way of ruling their own country, and it was by Rump Parliament declared England a Commonwealth. That means England belongs to each and every person of England, a free collection of people ruled by Parliament and not a king. But still there was unrest, because that in Parliament also Puritans were there, they were dominant, Catholics were there, so there was still unrest. So in second period, what happened? The Protectorate, when this Parliament tried to become dominant over the England, during second period, what happened? Oliver Cromwell dissolved the Parliament, and the Parliament which he created afterwards, that made him, Parliament appointed Oliver Cromwell as Lord Protector for life, and in their first written constitution, the instrument of government. That means he went inside the Parliament, he dissolved the Parliament which was established after the 1649, and then the Parliament which was created by him and few people, like 2-3 people only he appointed, and that parliament which was created by Oliver Cromwell appointed Oliver Cromwell as a Lord Protector for life, and he became so powerful, so influential in his time, that he could control so many people, so many works and so many things. He banned so many things during his period, and he in the first written constitution, the instrument of government. But suddenly, due to malaria or some other disease, Cromwell died in 1658. But before that, he was offered throne, but he denied, because he knew that people revolt against him also. Suddenly Cromwell died in 1658, and then after the death of Cromwell, in third period start, that is called second Protectorate, and it is a son of Cromwell. Richard became Lord Protector, but he was not so dominant, he was not so skillful to control the Parliament and to control the activities, so he resigned. Then in the fourth period, what happened at the end of the 1660, Charles II coronation ceremony took place. He returned from Scotland to England, and he became the king of England in 1660, and that is the end of the Commonwealth period, or the period of the early modern or the Renaissance. So the Renaissance period is divided into Elizabethan age, Jacobean age, then Caroline age, and finally from 1649 to 1660 the Commonwealth period or Puritan interregnum. If you ask me whether there is no literary work, no great figures in this Commonwealth period, of course there are, but only this Cromwell promoted only the Puritans or Puritan ideologies. If anybody had written anything beyond that, even he controlled the speech, he controlled the press, so everything was edited. So only those people who are Puritans, who are Puritan in nature, their literature or their literary work was allowed to publish. So if you ask me who is the greatest figure during the Puritan interregnum or the Commonwealth period, it is none other than John Milton. So let us go to the literary figures, poets, dramatists. There was no drama, so there is no question of dramatists, prose writers and poets. So till here, any questions, any doubts? During the Renaissance period, the Renaissance period is divided into Elizabethan age, Jacobean age, then Caroline age, and then Puritan interregnum. Any questions?
No, sir.
Any questions, Preeti?
No, sir.
Danny ma'am, Sharmila ma'am, Deepthi ma'am,
No, sir.
Diksha ma'am?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Okay. Then Preeti ma'am, tell me, who
Yes.
who is the king or queen in the Renaissance or the early modern period? Tell me, sequence.
First king is the battle in Hastings, William de Normandy.
I'm asking about
Duke of Normandy.
Preeti. I'm asking only the Renaissance, early modern period.
Queen Elizabeth I.
Hmm.
After that, some common kings were come. Then James the First.
Hmm.
James the First was beheaded in 1649. After that,
James
kings
the
are
First was
Charles.
not beheaded.
No, Charles.
Tell me.
Charles the First was beheaded.
Hmm.
Elizabeth. After the Elizabeth, his cousin became the king. I think James.
James the First became the king, and then
After the James, it's Charles the First.
correct. Then
Then, sir, I forgot.
Oliver Cromwell, he became the Lord Protector,
Okay, sir.
and
Oliver.
then who came again? Charles the Second.
Okay, sir.
Charles the Second. So the age between Charles the First and Charles the Second is known as Puritan interregnum or the Commonwealth period. Okay, Deepthi ma'am, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Tell me the great literary figures from Elizabethan age to Puritan interregnum.
Elizabethan age.
Renaissance. In Renaissance, in age wise, you tell me the great literary works and great literary figures, poets, dramatists.
Okay. In the poets, Spencer, the foremost one. Then Sidney
I
was there.
want in this way, ma'am. First, give me the age, year, then the name of the age, and then tell me the name of the writers and their books.
First Elizabethan age. In the Renaissance first comes Elizabethan age. That's from the Renaissance from 1500 to 1660. That section in the Renaissance first comes Elizabethan age, 1558 to 1603. And in that age, Spencer was the foremost poet of the age. Then Philip Sidney was there. Sidney. And then in the drama part, Shakespeare was the one. And then
Who is the contemporary of Shakespeare in dramas?
Ben Jonson, but Ben Jonson in the Jacobean.
Elizabethan age.
Elizabethan age.
Who wrote Dr. Faustus?
Marlowe, Christopher Marlowe. Then in the Jacobean age, Shakespeare continued his tragedies in the Jacobean age. And then comes in the Jacobean age, Ben Jonson, Yeoman and Fletcher, Ford. They were the main dramatists. And prose writer Bacon was there in the later part of Elizabethan period and in the Jacobean period, even in the Puritan period also we can see Bacon. Bacon. Milton also we can see in the first period of first part of the Puritan period, and then rest of the period also he is coming. And in the Jacobean period, poets were not metaphysical poets were in the Jacobean period. Especially Donne and Andrew Marvell were the prominent one period. Then comes in the Charles period, the 1642 theatres were closed. And after the restoration in 1662, when Charles II came from France to England, it was theatres were reopened.
Correct. Good. Diksha.
Yes, sir.
Tell me, how many Bibles were already translated from Latin into English, and who translated those Bibles till this Commonwealth period?
So 2 times. First, first were translated in 1382 by John Wycliffe, and the second time it was translated during the period of James I, and it was considered as a registered or
Authorized.
authorized Bible.
Authorized version of King James the First Bible.
King James the First, right? Yes, sir.
So in examination, if they ask you which is the first authorized version of Bible published, so in which year the first authorized version of Bible published?
1611.
During the era of James I, so that period that year is not coming into my mind. Sorry.
Deepti ma'am?
1611.
1611. See, in confusing, what they'll give you, authorized version is different and the Bible translation is different. So if they give you question authorized version of Bible publication, it is 1611. Okay, so
there are a lot of Bible translations there.
So many.
Tyndale's Bible translation was there, and mainly three Bible translations are there.
But authorized version is clear. It is in 1611. It is in 1611. Okay, so if you see the screen, we have completed Old English literature, Middle English literature, Renaissance period, Elizabethan age, Jacobean age, Caroline age, and we will complete the literature or literary works and literary figures of Puritan Integram. So what I want you to do, though it is little time taking, but if you practice this, it will be, what I can say, you can store the information in your own way. So after this class or in this week, any one day, because I am not going to start any other period in English literature in this week. So whatever you have learnt or whatever you have understood from Old English literature to our Old English period to the Puritan Integram or Commonwealth period, is it possible? Not possible. You have to or you must write one paragraph from 450 to 1660, and in your paragraph or in your essay you have to write in such a way the important aspects of that particular age under the subheading 450 to 1066 Old English literature. Whatever you have understood, you write one paragraph. Then 1066 to 1500 Middle English literature, write, it is divided into 3 ages, so write 3 paragraphs. And then the Renaissance or early modern, it is divided into Elizabethan age, Jacobean age, Caroline age and Commonwealth Puritan Integram. So for each age you write one paragraph. So if you write in this way, here 1 paragraph, here 3 paragraphs, here 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Minimum 5, maximum 8 paragraphs you have to write in your own words by understanding whatever you have written in your notes and whatever you have understood in this class. Then what will happen? See, the technique which I am trying to explain you here is, when you study things in objective format, your mind may not store that chunks of information, but when you write that into a paragraphs, you will better understand it, and it is a convenience for your brain to remember and store information, and in the examination you will recollect it. So you have to do, or you must do, and you have to submit on Sunday. So what is the work I am given to you, Diksha?
So we need to write, we need to extract some more points about the periods which we have completed till now. We have to write paragraphs, we have to write the main aspects of these paragraphs. That means who are the famous literary figures, their write-ups, and what is important about that period. All things we have to write in one para so that we can understand, we can clarify our doubts. And
That means I'll just give one example. When you are writing Elizabethan age, for example, you started writing Elizabethan age. Then what do you write in the Elizabethan age? The ruler, the historical events, and the literary figures, and then literary work of arts. So if you can connect all these four elements, and if you can prepare one paragraph, that small paragraph is enough for quick revision before examination. So this is one of the techniques you have to follow. After completion of each and every topic, if you can prepare one small paragraph means at least 3 to 4 lines, that is also considered as a paragraph. But if you assimilate, if you complete that paragraph with all the informations of that particular topic, that will become a source for quick revision before examination. So that quick revision helps you a lot, and it builds a lot of confidence before your exam. So have you all did you practice this kind of method when you were preparing for previous exams, Preeti, Diksha?
No, done this.
Please do this. If you don't do it, I will not leave you. You must do it, and you have to submit that answers on Sunday. So I am giving you time. Today is Monday, so you have almost all 6 days time. Anyhow, next Sunday 30th you have weekly test, but I am telling you today you have to prepare one paragraph for each and every age in your own way. But own way means you have to include the important information of that particular period at that particular age. What is the important information? The historical moments, who ruled that kingdom or who ruled England that time, and what is the impact of what is the impact of the rulers on the literature, and what are the who are the literary figures, and what is the literature produced in that period. So if you can mix these four topics together, and if you prepare a paragraph, that would be very good for you for completing your preparation or for a quick revision at the time of exams. So I am not going to touch anything hereafter. I have to complete again literary topics, because the novel comes all those things. So I have to explain first the literary terms, then only you will understand, and then only it will be easy for you to understand when we start the neoclassical period, restoration, ride, and all those things. So I am going to cut here 1649 to 1660 Commonwealth period at Puritan diagram is the last for this week, or maybe next week also I may not touch these periods of English literature. Whatever is left in this, I'll complete that one, taking Milton, taking Francis Bacon, all those people who are important in examination point of view. I'll explain those people, I'll explain their literary work of arts, and I'll explain the literary terms. Then only we'll go to the neoclassical period. So you have 1 week time to write small paragraphs with information up to the Commonwealth, up to Renaissance or early modern. So Old English literature, Middle English literature, and Renaissance English literature, you have to submit descriptive answers to me. That is not part of your weekly test. Am I loud and clear?
Yes, sir.
Do it, otherwise I will not leave you. Now let us go with the next one. 7:30, let us complete the class. 8 o'clock I leave you. So without any break, let us complete this class. So where is my notes? Is it visible? Major writers in Commonwealth period, Preeti?
Yes, sir.
Alright. So during Commonwealth period or during Puritan interagram, Oliver Cromwell supported the literature, supported the poets who are Puritan in ideology, who are Puritan in nature. Surprisingly, John Milton was allowed to publish his greatest literary works. Let us understand this age in the point of so major writers in Commonwealth period. Prose writers of the epoch included in that era or in that age: Thomas Hobbes, Leviathan. You must have heard about this book, Leviathan, Thomas Hobbes. Remember this guy, Thomas Hobbes, Leviathan. And then Jeremy Tyler, Holy Living and Holy Dying. Then Isaac Walton, The Complete Angler or the Contemplative Man's Recreation. And then the very famous person, John Milton, Tenure of Kings and Magistrates, a pamphlet attempted to justify the execution of Charles I. So you can understand Milton favored Oliver Cromwell and Milton tried to justify the execution of Charles I because Charles I is a villain or is not a person who allows people to live in peace, or he is not the supporter of democracy or the republic. So that is the reason why John Milton wrote Tenures of Kings and Magistrates to justify the execution of Charles I, and Oliver Cromwell happily supported John Milton because this will bring good name and fame to Oliver Cromwell. You read about Oliver Cromwell, you will understand a lot of things about the Puritans ideology. Then in what you call Puritan integram in 17th century only, Milton had written a very a funny aspect or very popular for those time and era. He had written the doctrine and discipline of divorce. Okay, and it is in like he had written pamphlet on divorce also, that is doctrine and discipline of divorce, the judgment of Martin Bucer, Tetracodon and Cholesterol, written by John Milton from 1643 to 1645. They argue for the legitimacy of divorce on grounds of spousal incompatibility. So you can understand how modern John Milton was. In 17th century only he wanted the divorce should be legalized. What happened, if I could remember properly, John Milton married a woman who was half of his age. So there was no compatibility between John Milton and his wife, and after 1 month only, John Milton's wife, Powell, I suppose name Powell, I'm not able to remember properly, John Milton's wife left him and went and lived with her parents. So John Milton wanted to take divorce from her, but during that time it was illegal to go for divorce. The reason was, in Puritans ideology, marriages are made in heaven. Where were the marriages are made, Preeti ma'am?
Heaven, sir.
In present generation also, do you all believe?
No, sir. Absolutely not.
So you are not a Puritan, or you are a Puritan? Who are you now?
I'm just a logical person. That's
No,
it.
sorry. According to Puritan interagram, Puritans established this ideology. Puritans have this ideology that marriages are made in heaven, so people should not dissolve. It is against to God. So these are hardcore, what you call Protestants. They believed that God has decided these marriages and God made men and women to live together. It was the God's decision. So if anybody tries to dissolve their marriage, it is against to the will of God. So divorce was illegal in those days. But even till today also in India, like conservative societies, traditional societies in India, like India, divorce is still a taboo. So you can understand John Milton in 17th century only fought for his rights divorce. So he had written this one for the legitimacy of divorce on grounds of spousal incompatibility. Now, but divorce and marriage is not our topics, but what I am trying to tell you that So in the Puritan ideology, marriages are made in heaven. At least you realized, Preeti, that marriages are not made in heaven. I also realized a lot long back. Okay, so that's why life is happy and good and compatible. Otherwise, if you believe marriages are made in heaven, then we should search first heaven, then we have to marry. Okay. What, Diksha ma'am?
Yes, sir.
You understood what I said in a sarcastic way?
Yes, sir.
If you all believe that, I suppose Deepthi ma'am, Charimla ma'am, you all understood what I said?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
If we all believe that marriages are made in heaven, then first let us search for the heaven. Once we find the heaven, then we will. Okay, fine. Let us stop this sarcasm. Let us go. So this is about the doctrine of disciplines of divorce and all those things by John Milton, and he published Aeropagitica, a speech of John Milton for liberty of unlicensed printing to the Parliament of England, freedom of press. That means when Oliver Cromwell banned publication without the government's consent, without the permission from government, John Milton had voiced his speech, and he wanted the liberty to publish, and Oliver Cromwell was happy to sanction the permission to John Milton, because John Milton is a Puritan, though he belongs to though he was born in a Catholic family, but he has Puritan values and Puritan ideology. So Aeropagitica is a speech by John Milton for the liberty of unlicensed printing to the Parliament of England, and it especially talks about freedom of press. Then if we discuss poets, John Milton, of course there is a lengthy class on John Milton in the later stages, but here John Milton is a Puritan who was also one of the greatest poets of era, although his major works Paradise Lost and Paradise Regained were published during the subsequent Restoration age. Though he had written these things during a Commonwealth period, but those books were published during Restoration age. If you leave Milton, if you keep Milton aside for a while, then there are other people who are famous, other poets who are famous in that era. Those were Abraham Cowley, he is a metaphysical poet. Andrew Marvell, he is also a metaphysical poet. And then Henry Wagner, he is also a metaphysical poet. And there were no playwrights, because Puritans closed theaters, there was no entertainment, there was no drinking, there was no fun. They were like completely traditional people, so they didn't encourage such kind of things. So there was no playwrights, and due in the part of Parliament decision to close the theatres in 1642. Deepthi ma'am? Deepthi ma'am, are you there?
Yes, sir.
So it is 1642, correct. Okay, maybe typing mistake. So the theatres were closed down in 1642. So when theatres were closed down, there was no scope for great plays like As You Like It or Tempest. Okay. So playwrights of era were constrained due to in part of Parliament decision to close all theatres in 1642. Now these metaphysical poets were prominent poets during that age other than Milton. Now let us understand who are these metaphysical poets. So there is a list of metaphysical poets. John Donne. One second. So these are the metaphysical poets. The first one is John Donne, then George Herbert, Cleveland, Herbert of Cherbury, Richard Crashaw, Andrew Marvell, Abraham Cowley, and Henry Wagner. So these are the these were the metaphysical poets. So we have understood so far pastoral poems, elegies, all those things. But what is this metaphysical poetry, and what is this? Who are these metaphysical poets? Simply to make you understand, whoever can write some things which are beyond this materialistic world, we can call them as metaphysical poet, because this entire world, it's a materialistic, you can see, you can touch, but these people, they can write poetry which we can't understand through our sensory organs. So let us go with the topic here. So here John Donne, the witty union of ideas. If you get this question, who has witty unions of ideas in the metaphysical poet, then you have to name John Donne. And then who is known as saint of metaphysical school, then it is George Herbert. He is the saint of metaphysical school. Now there are some very important bits or information pieces. You should remember this one. Dryden said. Who said? Dryden said, done affects the metaphysics. Who said this one? Dryden. Then remember Samuel Johnson. He is known as literary dictator, and he said something about these metaphysical poets in the lives of poets. These poets were men of learning. They wanted to display their learning and made a far-fetched comparison lacked feeling. They primarily focused on the comparison. They try to make poetry more and more complicated. So it is very difficult for common people to understand the metaphysical poetry written by these poets. And Johnson named, there are two Johnsons are there, Ben Jonson and Samuel Johnson. Samuel Johnson is known as literary dictator, okay, and Ben Jonson is next to Shakespeare, and Samuel Johnson named them as metaphysical poets. So who grouped or who named these people as metaphysical poets? That is Samuel Johnson. Donne is considered as a leader of the group said by Johnson, and Johnson spoke about metaphysical poets in his life of Abraham Coley. Any questions? Any doubts? Any questions?
No, sir.
Okay, then tell me, Diksha, what is a simile?
So simile is a comparison between two different things.
Correct. What is metaphor?
So metaphor is also a comparison. It's not a comparison. We will show one thing as means it's a part of a different another thing.
Correct. What you said earlier is also correct. Metaphor is also a kind of a comparison without using like or as. And one more is that metaphor can be used to show one thing in substitution to another thing. If they want to talk about pen, they will use some other thing instead of pen. But they also, metaphor is also a kind of a comparison without using like and as. That is the simplest definition of the metaphor. Right. So you understood simile, you understood metaphor. Now coming back to simile, Preeti, are you there?
Yes, sir.
So what are the two parts of a simile? Earlier we discussed. What are the two parts?
One thing and one action is compared with like, as, using as and like.
That is
Comparison
fine.
between two things.
That is fine. But there is one terminology we used for the primary subject and secondary subject. What is called primary subject?
I didn't recall that.
Tenor.
Tenor and
Ten.
vehicle.
Tenor is the primary subject and vehicle is the secondary subject. Now who coined that tenor?
Milton?
Who coined tenor?
Richards.
I.A.
I.A.
Richards.
Richard.
I.A. Richards. I.A. Richards coined the tenor. Okay. Now conceit also we discussed. It is also a kind of a simile, but there is no comparison between two things. That means when two dissimilar things are compared, and when the secondary subject, when the vehicle is elaborate, then it is called epic simile. Try to understand step by step. Simile is a comparison between two things using like or as. Metaphor is also a kind of a comparison between two things without like or as, or metaphor can be used in substitution of one word. Then what is another word we learned? Conceit. What is conceit? It is an elaborate description of the secondary subject or vehicle, and if the vehicle is in elaborative way, runs into so many lines, then it is called as an epic simile. After that, now we have to understand the metaphysical conceit. Come to see here, metaphysical conceit. Conceit is also comparison between two dissimilar things. But what is metaphysical conceit? A simile wherein there is little in common between tenor and vehicle. I told you that love and dustbin, love and garbage bag, there is no connection between these two things. So but if the poet used these kind of images, love and dustbin, So when you want to understand that poet's poetry, the poet only has to explain why he has used these two images and what is the connection between these two images. So metaphysical conceit means a simile wherein there is little in common between tenor and vehicle. We have to wait for the poet interference to show us the similarity between the tenor and the vehicle. Otherwise nobody can understand why the poet has used these kind of two different images or two different subjects, and what is the connection or relation between these two subjects, primary subject tenor and the secondary subject vehicle. So there is no similarity between tenor and vehicle, and Milton used this as a figurative language in his Milton's Paradise Lost. He compared bees in a very far-fetched imagery. Then examination point of view, remember this one, H.J.C. Gregson's Metaphysical Lyrics and Poems of the 17th Century. He had written this book, Metaphysical Lyrics and Poems of the 17th Century, and T.S. Eliot had written an essay on the metaphysical poets, and he coined one word or coined one phrase, dissociation of sensibility. Remember, disassociation of sensibility is a phrase coined by T.S. Eliot in his essay The Metaphysical Poets. So what is this dissociation of sensibility? It refers to the way in which intellectual thought was separated from the experience of feeling in 17th century poets. So metaphysical poets, they start separated from the experience of feeling. Instead of feeling, they give a lot of importance for their exaggerate far-fetched imagery and far-fetched comparisons. So the conceit of this poem by John Donne, example, very famous example, and most of you have read this example. The conceit of this poem by John Donne is that two lovers are described as the 2 points of a compass, the drawing tool, in which one lover is the point, the other is the point of a pen or pencil, one rotating around the other and both leaning towards each other. So they might he says that they might be separated at this end, but they are united at this point. So they call unification or whatever according to the poet John Donne, and it is written in the Forbidden Valediction Morning, and he comparison of the compass, two ends, 2 points of the compass. So this is the metaphysical conceit. So metaphysical conceit, already the features of metaphysical poetry we discussed. And what is a metaphysical conceit? There is no similarity between the two things. What is primary subject and secondary subject? Primary subject is known as tenor and the secondary subject is known as vehicle. So there is no connection between these two, and the poet used different images, and only poet can explain why he has used these two images and what is the relationship between these two images or these 2 points. So this is about the metaphysical poetry and the metaphysical conceit. If you have any questions, I know you may be having a lot of questions in metaphysical poets and metaphysical poetry. You read, then you may understand something about metaphysical poetry. But in examination point of view, you will definitely get questions from metaphysical poetry. Any questions? Any questions? Sharmila, Diksha, Preeti?
So these
No, sir.
metaphysical poets, they belong from which period? Commonwealth period.
Puritan. Commonwealth period. Commonwealth. See, Puritan age is kind of a Taliban age in England. So when all those entertainment was closed, when there was no external entertainment available, so these poets, they turned inside. They wanted to find some kind of entertainment in this kind of poetry, and the poetry was also so tough and typical in comparison with the Puritans' ideology. So that is the reason why metaphysical poetry is also very difficult to understand unless we have a paraphrase or explanation. So they comes under the Puritan intergram or Commonwealth period. Any questions? Okay, now from my side I have finished today. 7:50, 10 minutes, 15 minutes time I have. Now yours time, you have to tell me what I asked in the previous class. Can you tell me Diksha, what did I ask you in the previous class?
So you had asked us to prepare that why did we fail and why didn't we clear any exams, sir?
So here there are four, and I suppose all four were present. So now you can start one by one. I'll just close. I will like to listen, then only I can understand. Okay. So start with Diksha. Please, Diksha, start.
Uh, so actually, the entire blame I want to put on myself only. Many obstacles also came, like in my family. So marriage means I was forced to get married, but I don't know. My fate, my destiny, it supported me, but also at the same time, I went through many obstacles, like um, means in this period, means during this all alliances, I got um, I, I I got depressed. So due to this reason also, I didn't focus on my studies, and at that time I thought that marriage is the ultimate destination, so I need not to do anything. But soon later, actually I was not ready to do B.Ed, but through the force and through the so what's a company of Preeti, I took admission in B.Ed. I completed it. She forced me to join a school, so that I did, and from there I realized that no, this is the time I should do something for myself. And so from last year I started searching that which occupation and which field will be suitable for me. Earlier I was not interested in teaching line, but after seeing Preeti's school activity, so it affected me a lot. And from her I got an idea that I should go in the same field, because this field is quite safer, and in this field I'll enjoy, so because I always wanted to do a job where I will enjoy, and then I'll do the work. So means a work with enjoyment. And so that from there I means now I have become a serious person where I'm seriously working on myself. Earlier my focus was 0%, I will say, but right now at least 20% I'm trying, sir. 20 to 30% I'm working on myself, that I want myself to see at such a place where I'll be independent perfectly, sir. I don't want others opinion, I don't want others judgment upon me, sir. And that I want to achieve in my life, sir, because I know my limitations, I know what is right, what is wrong, and that is why, sir, I want to stable, I want to settled by myself, so I don't want anybody's help. And for me, sir, I'm not that much interested in marriage things.
Okay, Diksha, fine. I appreciate that you express. See, this session, 10-minute session or 15-minute session, is very important. See, once you pour out your emotions, you will get a kind of relaxation. And second
Yes.
thing is, if you could realize where you went wrong, so that is the beginning for your growth, and that is the beginning or the first step for your success. So there are so many things happens in our life which we get diverted, distracted, but at least you come to know that what you want in your life, so there will be no confusion here after Diksha. Okay. And for you, like Preeti supported, so let me know, Preeti.
Sir,
uh,
first of all,
Tell me.
whatever Diksha has done, sir, it is done by herself only. I know one of the bravest lady in my life is she is, but I don't know, sir, what to say. I'm getting emotional. Sorry, sir.
No problem, no problem, tell me, Preeti.
So she has supported me a lot, sir.
Mm.
Seriously, means we are friends from our college days. We met on 2012, sir,
Okay.
and from that day, sir, we are everywhere for each other, sir.
That's good actually. Preeti.
Yep.
Yes, sir. Sorry.
Tell me, what about you? Tell me.
Sir, actually, from my side, strategy problem is there because I have given SSC two times I have given SSC exam uh, before 6 years. After that, I got into the job of school, and at that time, sir, I thought ki getting into the job, earning as a that much salary will be okay for me. The only weakness from my side, I am okay with my things. I doesn't want to see beyond of the things. But Dikta inspired me a lot, sir.
Very good. So you found where you went wrong exactly, Preeti?
Exactly, sir. My strategy was not good. I'm not studying as I have to. And sir, I am just okay with the things. Means I have earning 10,000. I have a job. That's it for my life. There it is the problem, sir. I'm not dreaming for the big.
Okay, fine, good. Then
Um,
Deepti ma'am?
Emotional with
And
Diksha stop.
it's okay, it's okay. Yeah. All are emotional beings. Man, human is a bundle of emotions. There is nothing wrong with that, Preeti. Okay. Deepti ma'am.
Yes, sir.
Deepti ma'am has cleared UGC NET and our state set also, but maybe she failed to clear KVS examination. So let us know from Deepti. Deepti ma'am, tell me where you went wrong exactly.
Actually, whichever exam uh, wrote, I selected. I think I cleared every exams, but only KVS I didn't because I don't know the strategy well. Actually, we are in southern part, and I got only one question paper. That question paper was actually the cancelled question paper. One in 2016, one exam was cancelled, and I got that question paper. That's cancelled one, the other one, the reconducted one. So I thought the pattern will be same like that. So I continued that pattern, but the 2018 when I wrote it, the pattern was extremely changed. So I understood that. Actually, I gave one more thing that I gave more importance to literature. Literature I like a lot. I read a lot also. Actually, I read almost all the English literary history books because I like reading. But I don't. The one thing I am not doing that I'm not pointing the notes, just reading and keeping it aside. The one thing that the one thing I am not doing before, but nowadays I'm doing that one. I think nowadays, and the other one is I in a competitive examination we have not only literature, we have some other parts also coming. GK part are there, and for English and grammar. Grammar I think I am good in grammar, so no problem. So I didn't even revise grammar and all. So that is one problem. So when we are going for an exam, I think we have to give equal importance to all the category sections coming for the exam. That I understood it. And I didn't spend too much time on my studies. That's also one thing that I had a lot of works here, family and all. So that also one thing. But nowadays I'm getting a lot of time. I'm sitting for more hours, but now I'm working for both the exams. But sometimes I'm frustrated. Why do both exam? If I concentrate on one, it is enough. I will think like that. But leaving the one is also disturbing me. That's why I'm concentrating on these two. Sometimes I'm sitting from 12 to 4 or 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, I will sit for writing and reading and something like that because two exams I'm concentrating now. Last year I had NET, but I didn't get chance to write collegiate exam. That was yesterday result came. I was so depressed. That's why. Because the main problem, I concentrated on UP school, lower primary section. The exam was both was on the same time. The last year, November, the exam takes place. Only one November 28, one exam, collegiate exam, and November 29, UPA. So I think UP is better. More opportunities are there for UP. So I give UP. I am there in that list, but I don't know when they will calling for interview and all. the main thing is now I understood what is the problem with me and all. One thing that sir said, taking notes on the one which we are reading, the one thing, and the other thing, give equal importance to all the sections of the exam.
Question paper. Okay, ma'am. Understood. Sharmila, ma'am.
I blame myself only because I didn't practice much. That's I didn't practice before the exam only, or 1 week I practiced for the exam, and I got only 3-4 marks only. I didn't get to pass the exam, and I get the confident that if we study, it means we get the pass mark and we clear the exam. At the same time, also I didn't study for the next exam, and I overconfident that 1 week is enough for me to crack it. Like that, I think myself, but again I failed that, and I expect motivation from others. Now only I realize the motivation is came from within myself only. Then only I clear that. From this year, I took a resolution. This is my year. I'm going to crack it, and I my wish all is going to come this year. That's it, sir.
Okay, fine. So you all four at least accepted that the mistake is from your side. Okay, fine. See, passing comments on you is no use because I am crossed all those problems and now I'm in this side. So instead of passing unnecessary comments, I'll tell you one thing. You're all good students, I suppose, I believe. And how many of you are married here?
Me, sir.
Me also.
Alright, so Deepti ma'am and Sharmila ma'am both are married, and Diksha and Preeti are there. See, whatever problem comes, sometimes those problems becomes a big hurdle in our life. I too agree, I too accept that. It is easy to say, it is easy to preach, but when if we face the situation, then only we'll understand how difficult to solve the issue or survive in that situation. So I don't have any kind of negative comments on your position. Whatever you experienced, whatever the problems you had, those are all genuine. I do understand. But I'll tell you one thing which may be fun at this moment. Diksha, are you a literature student in graduation?
Yes, sir.
Deepti ma'am?
Yes, sir.
Preeti?
Yes, sir.
Sharmila?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
You are all literary, that means you studied English literature in graduation, correct? All four?
Yes,
Yes.
sir.
Yes, sir.
Right. I didn't study. I was
What was your subject, sir?
I didn't read English literature during my graduation. Only after completion of my graduation, then I wanted to study MA in economics or MA in public administration. That was actually I was interested. But my mother, she told me, see, if you can do MA English, at least you can survive by conducting private tuitions even if you don't get a government job. So that was exact sentences my mother told me. So I was not interested in literature. I was not interested in this kind of stories and all those things. That didn't fascinate me. Even to today also. So whenever I read those literary books, I don't understand what nonsense they are speaking, why they are writing all those things. Still, I'm frankly speaking, I was not a literature student at graduation, and I never attended English classes. Always we used to bunk English classes. Who attends English classes? Okay. And then in whether it was semester wise for you, Sharmila ma'am, Deepti ma'am, for your Deepti ma'am, post graduation was your semester wise?
No, sir. No.
Year wise, first year, second year?
Second year, third year.
Now, what about you, Preeti and Diksha?
Yeah,
No, sir, it was year wise.
Was it not semester wise? First semester, second, third, fourth semester?
No, sir. No, sir. Year wise.
Okay. So, when we were pursuing post graduation, it was semester wise. First semester 6 months, second semester 6 months, third, fourth, like that. And you don't believe, I attended 31 or 32 classes in the first semester. That too, most of the time I used to spend in the ground or in canteen, not sitting inside the classrooms. Second semester also around 30-32 days only for the entire semester. Minimum attendance, no? You understood minimum attendance?
Yes, sir.
So that was actually required for us to appear in the exam. So minimum attendance only I used to get every time. First semester, second semester, third semester, fourth semester. So I was not interested in literature. I was not happy with reading literature and all those things. So then during my first year holidays only I got married. That was also one big shock. I was around 23 years. I too got married. So then what made me to study after completion of my post graduation is responsibility. There is no other motivating factor for me to clear exams, whatever exams, whichever exams I have cleared. It is responsibility. So I feel responsible for my family. I feel responsible for my children. So I want to do something in life so that my children should not hate me, my wife should not hate me. I should be at least a reasonably good house husband, reasonably good father. So that was my motivation. That there is no any other big story behind me. That is a simple thing which motivated me. I don't want to die being a bad husband, being a bad father to my children. So that was the only motivation. So I don't understand anything when I was reading literature, but I could remember the facts. I could remember the facts. I was good at mathematics. I was good at current affairs. I was good at general knowledge. So I was good at in those areas, but I was not very good at literature. This is very frankly I'm speaking to tell you. So a person who was not interested in literature, I read literature, I prepared my self-made notes, I completed exams, I cleared English JL in our state syllabus, I cleared PGT. So what is my motivating factor is simple. I feel responsible. In those days I felt responsible that I should not end my life being a bad husband. Bad husband in the sense, if I don't fulfill my wife's minimum requirements and basics, then only they'll consider it as a bad husband. And if my children ask me anything if I can't provide to my children minimum basic needs, then I will be considered as a bad father. So that was my motivation. There was nothing other than this for me to clear all these exams. So this is very simple. You need to find out your motivating factor or your fear. Which is your fear? Which is your motivating factor? Like Diksha made it very clear. I can understand from Diksha's 1 minute talk that her fear is she doesn't want to become dependent on somebody. That was her fear. That is her motivation. So for others also, if you can understand what is your motivation and what is your fear, that is enough to clear any exam, because preparation, strategy, all those things are okay, but if you don't have that kind of a burning motivation, a burning enthusiasm, you will not clear exams. I'm very sorry to say, you may be having the best notes, you may be having the best coaching, but if you don't have that kind of motivation, as Sharmila said, no, we should not expect others to motivate us. It should come within. But what is that within motivation? What is your motivation? Where do you have fear that I am going to fail in my life? My fear was very simple. If I don't clear these examinations, I would fail as a bad husband and a bad father. That was my motivation. So take 1 or 2 minutes time. Tell me what is your motivation. I suppose Diksha made it clear. I can understand Diksha what she said. She doesn't want to become dependent on somebody. Am I right, Diksha?
Yes, sir.
So for that, you will do whatever is possible in your life. Am I right?
Yes, sir, I'm doing so.
Right. So that is your motivation. And that is your fear factor also. That is your fear factor also.
Yes, sir.
You don't want to live your life under the thumb of somebody. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
Preeti, tell me what is your fear and what is your motivation?
So my fear is my responsibilities. Actually, I lost my father in 2016. After that, I got into the job. After getting into the job, I became so much busy with that. That only things important for me to going to the job coming to the home, getting those responsibilities done. And I just, boredom came to my life. I never expect beyond that. Small responsibilities of my family, I'm doing that. And continuously, sir, with Diksha, I uh, get to know about many things in my life. I even don't know about you, sir. From Cora, she told me about you. She inspired me to join your classes. Even what book I have to read, she gave it to me that. So, my fear is, d- d- after losing my father, I do not lose someone in my life. That is my biggest fear. I don't want to lose anything. That is my job, my position in the school as a teacher, being a sister, being a daughter. I don't want to lose that platform. That is the biggest fear for me, losing the loved ones that I have felt in my past life. And my biggest motivation is, sir, of course, me is there, but I can't truly say that only me, but because of my friends, sir. It is Diksha, truly and 100%. She inspired me the most because I have, sir, she didn't tell you the whole story of what she has gone through. I have seen since 5 years how she has survived her life. And from this, I at that first point, I thought that my pain is very much that I have lost my father. This is the biggest pain of the world, but that is not right, sir. I explored that not only my pain is bigger, but everybody in the life has some problem. Everybody is going through something, but we have to overcome, we have to win. And that is my true motivation from that fact, sir.
Exactly, Priti. The tougher the life, the tougher the person. Okay. So, understood. Deepthi ma'am, tell me, what is your fear and what is your motivation?
Actually, my motivation is my children.
Right. How many
Then
children
my
you have, ma'am?
two children.
Okay.
So give them a room full of books and give them good education. That is my, actually, that is only my ambition in my life. Because I was a good reader and I want to make them a good reader and a good education. That's all. Other things will come. I don't really mind about other things. That as Sridhi ma'am said, if I get 10,000 also, I am very happy. That's the main hindrance in front of me, that what I get, I am satisfied with that. If I'm not satisfied, I would have get something in life. That satisfaction make me like this because I was a good student in my school days and college days. So,
Understood, ma'am. Sharmila ma'am, tell me what is.
many of my friends see me, they will ask me, why don't you get a job? They were asking me that to a government job. Working in a private sector is, they were blaming me for that. Why don't you try? So, circumstances also changed. The last corona time, we suffered a lot because my husband lost his job. So he was not getting any job here. So nobody else to support us and to help us. That was the thing I understood. And now I know that we have, if I can, I could try to get a job, then only my children's security, I can offer my children the security. So that is my motivation now, to give them a good life and good education.
You are a good mother, ma'am.
That's my.
See, for everybody, financial independence is a real independence. You all have understood this phase. Let us, Sharmila ma'am, tell me.
Yes, sir. My motivation from me only. From last year, I had a health issue. At that time, I'm going through a heavy pain and feelings. Nobody understand my pain and feelings. Even though my husband support, but he didn't understand much. At that time, I realized if I had money means I go to where I want and then go to the hospital as I want. But if I want to go to hospital also, I ask my family members, in-laws, and discussion is going there. Nobody is understand my feelings. At that time, I got the motivation. If I got a job, I got what I want in my life and in my future also. That's only thing, sir. This is also same thing. If I didn't means I always depend on my husband only. If I want means I attend any coaching class like this and any whatever that things.
Understood, Sharmila ma'am. See, all you want to become independent in life. That is very important in life. If you dependent on others, you have to wait for their decisions, approval, all those things. I can understand that one. Okay. See, what I am trying to do in this small session is, when you try to realize your mistakes, at the same time you should realize your potential also, where you are best, where you are good, in which area you are correct, in which area you are the best. So it is like not concentrating on our negative side, we should concentrate and we should focus on the positive side. See, everybody has problems. Everybody has problems. The problems may be so many, the problems may be different, but everybody has problems, and the problems makes us tough, and if we face the tougher problems, will become the toughest. That is life, and we have to accept the life in the way. But in this life, living an independent life is the best way of living life. Not dependent on somebody, not asking permissions from others, is one of the best ways of living the life. So concentrate, focus, but problems will be there. Problems will be, it is not like there will be some kind of a magic happens in your life, miracle happens in your life, suddenly all problems will vanish and you will sit for 10 hours a day and you will study and you will clear exam. That may not be possible. In this problems only, or with these problems only, you have to clear that goal. See, all these problems will become minor if you get a job. All these problems will go away from your life if you become independent. Am I right or wrong, Diksha?
Right, sir.
The biggest problem in the life is financial problems. That the day we don't have that kind of feeling in our life, ठीक है मेरे पास पैसा है, जो होगा होगा देखा जाएंगे. If you get that kind of confidence in your life, you will not have 90% of problems in your life. People come, people go. Problems come, problems go. But if you have a job, or at least if you have a permanent source of income, all these things will not become problem. Even if they are problem also, that will not, we don't feel that they are a problem. So your fear, as I told you, my fear was simple. I don't want to become a bad father and a bad husband. So that was my fear. You identified yourself. So you should know this fear always till you clear your exams, till you become what you wanted to become in your life. If you forget that, nobody will come and motivate you. So if possible, write down your fears, keep it somewhere secretly, or at least remember your fears always. See, there are two things which motivates us. All those people who are motivational speakers, they speak like the goal motivates us, the challenges motivates us, but what I believe is fear motivates us. We don't get sleep if you have fear in life. We can't eat properly if you have fear in life. That is actually driving force. Whether you believe it or not, fear is a negative motivating factor. Though it creates a lot of stress, but it is the fear which makes the deer run from the sight of tiger to run for life. So it is a fear. It is a fear which motivates us. And as you told that you are all happy and satisfied with whatever you are having, that is also one of the reasons for your lack of motivation. That you have to change. Nobody else can change, because in traditional families you are told that a life of a girl fulfilled only with marriage and good husband, good children, good family. If you still believe, then nobody can help you, nobody can support you. That I don't say that is wrong, but it depends. Okay, so what I mean to say is simple. You find out what is your motivating factor, what is your fear factor, and try to remember that. And if you try to overcome the fear, then what is the solution? Then you can come out of the problem and you'll think about the solution. So I would like to say one thing. As human beings, we will be having so many problems. If you think about problems, you can't even concentrate even your daily course or daily routine also. So don't think about problems, or if you want to think about a problem, there is one technique which I have learnt long back. Allot a specific time in the day. During that time only think about the problems. Remaining time or remaining the day, you don't think about the problems. Do you know this technique, Diksha, Preeti?
No, sir. What I do actually, I have already wasted a lot of time, a lot of years on my fears only, sir. And that's why what I do, whenever a fear comes into my mind, I change I change it with a positive thing. I change with a positive dream. I saw myself that yes, I'm working in KV, and one more thing that that Preeti and I we have done, sir, we have pasted our picture in front of KV's building Baliganj. So
Okay.
that also, sir, gives us motivation
So
that
what?
yes, we are working there, sir.
And sir, that picture is our phone screen.
It's our
Yeah,
wallpaper, it's everywhere, sir.
Is it in the wallpaper or in the notice board of those teachers?
No, sir, it is on our wallpaper, sir. So every time we have to use our phone, so whenever we use our phone, that picture comes and it pops up in front of us, and that means it gives us that realization that no, we have big dreams, and I know, sir, it will be fulfilled this year. And so, not for me and Preeti, sir, everyone
Everybody.
who is there in this coaching group, sir, we all will get the job, and I know, sir. I
You
know.
will definitely get, because I know how to chase you to make you to win this race. Okay.
Yes,
See,
sir.
I may be sometimes very rude, adamant, and arrogant, but I know those things, because if I am not like that, you will not study and you will not clear. See, there are two things which motivates people in general common. One is humiliation. If somebody insults you, it will struck, and you will definitely prove that you are worthy if I insult you in the classroom. But I don't want to do in front of everybody. But I will call you personally and I will scold you if you don't complete the test, if you don't complete the work. I'm go to that extent to interfere in your life. Whichever work I give you, if you don't do that, I will personally call you. I will scold you like anything, so that you will definitely complete the work. See, the fear, of course, it is a negative, but it is also one way correct. So I am not going to leave anybody, and I know that you are all good students. You are all studying really hard. You have qualities. You have those qualities to become a teacher. Only thing is, you may not be having a good guidance or maybe proper strategy. But see, without me also you can clear. I'm telling openly to everybody in the classroom. Without me also, if you realize your potential, if you realize your stamina, you will definitely clear any exam without anybody guidance. See, I'll tell you one thing again, to add some kind of fun element. I don't know whether you lose trust on me or not, but let me tell you one thing. I told you that I was not a literature student in graduation, correct?
Yes, sir.
So I wrote exam for post graduation in MA English literature. Okay, so can you tell me whether I got seat or not in first attempt?
So, I hope, sir, you have got because you are hardworking, sir.
What hardworking. Okay, Deepti ma'am, guess whether I got seat in first attempt?
I think so. You got it first attempt.
Wow, okay, right. All are good people. Preeti.
yes,
Yes.
sir.
See, I was not
Get
a
the first.
I was not a literature student. I never studied English literature, but only for that preparation, no, to get the seat in the university, I had to write one exam, and that too because my mother too. I wanted to apply to MA Economics and MA in Public Administration, but as my mother told, I wanted to study English literature. But do you know what I studied during that time? I studied Telugu literature. I belong to Andhra, so I studied Telugu literature instead of English literature. So tell me whether I could clear that exam, Diksha.
Still, uh, I hope means during first time you might have not got, so what
Let,
happens at that time?
let me tell you. Final fun. Sharmila ma'am, tell me what is your guess?
Maybe you passed.
I'll tell you what happened. I was a university first ranker.
Not.
I was a university first rank. What to say?
I don't know, sir.
Logical
Maybe it is a big joke in this room, but I was the university first ranker. Okay.
But you're a hard one.
Not hardworking,
We
nothing,
know.
ma'am. Not really
Interestingly studied, sir.
really speaking, I was not a hard worker. One thing what I did, I collected the previous year question papers of the university. I practiced that. I understood what are the areas they are focused and what kind of questions they are giving in the exam. So I went and wrote. As like Diksha and Preeti told, no, the day I went to university first time, I said, okay, in English literature department, I am going to get the first rank. Without much less preparation, whatever is happened, let us do. But I would definitely get seat in the English literature department because university, campus. First time I went. So I wrote exam. When the result came, I was the first ranker. Okay, my mother was also surprised. How could you get first rank in university exam? I said, I don't know, but I got through that. Okay, so our Nagraj sir, no, that day he took one session to you. You remember Nagraj sir, professor?
Yes, sir.
So he was my batchmate. We both studied same year. So he was the one who is supplying notes to me when I was not going to university. And whenever I occasionally go to university, after that he used to give notes and I used to collect and I used to complete exams. So this was maybe fun. Don't lose trust on me, but this is the fact. See why I told you, if you are little smart, your talent and your smartness will make you to succeed in life. See, I was not a literature student. I was not interested in literature. I could nothing understand in the first year of my post graduation what this Shakespeare, what Milton said, all those things. I used to feel kind of disgusting the way the professor used to narrate the tale stories about the Shakespeare and all the how many relationships they have, what kind of illicit relationship they used to have. So it was not actually I didn't like that, but still the responsibility, because whether I like it or not, that is secondary, but I want to clear the exam. So that made me to study and that made me to clear. So compared to, if you compare me, you are all good students, you are all far better than me, you will definitely clear exams. Okay, only thing is you need to be smart to face the exam. Your preparation, your academic exams, your academic result may not be sufficient to clear the competitive exams. Okay, so competitive examinations are different, academic exams are different. Did you understand what I said?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you might have scored very good marks in competitive examination in pen paper exams, but competitive in written academic exams, but in pen paper exams, that is completely different. Okay, and then what to tell you to motivate you? Then what happened? Junior lecturer exam came. In our state government, we call junior lecturer. Are you listening?
Sir.
So we were I suppose 6 students. Students means we were working in college. Actually, we were working as private college lecturers. 6 students. We took coaching for 2.5 months. And whatever the notes he had given, the still notes, I have that notes, and I am actually teaching with the help of that notes only and with my notes. So 2 to 3 months we completed the course. Out of 6 people who attended coaching, 4 got selected. That means the day when we went to interview, all 4 were there. Okay, 4 names were there in the interview, and then I got selected into post graduation. So what I want to say is, the coaching which I attended was also not extraordinary. That was also normal. Normal in the sense it was average. But once I completed the coaching, I realized where my teacher went wrong and what topics my teacher missed. Listen, the fun fact. Don't make fun of me afterwards. After completion of coaching, I understood these many areas I was not taught in the classroom. So I have to prepare in those areas. Okay. Am I audible to all of you?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So I prepared the notes where and in which areas where my tutor was not taught. So I prepared my own notes. I revised everything before junior lecturer examination. I revised every topic which I prepared, which my teacher gave. All those things I prepared and went. I wrote the examination. Do you remember? Do you believe what I did in the exam? in the question paper? Do you understand? Do you believe what I say?
Yes, sir.
Not even one question came from my material.
So the same thing we have also done, sir. Me and Preeti during our masters, sir. Actually, we didn't go with the with the notes and with the suggestion of our professor. We made our suggestion by means by our own, and we surpassed the exam with good marks, sir.
But in my case, what happened in junior lecturer exam, whatever questions I prepared, whatever material I prepared, no question came from that material. So I was
Okay, sir.
blank. I was really blank in the beginning. I couldn't understand what happened, why my preparation was. I gave one attempt only, junior lecturer. I cleared in that exam. So I was thinking in the beginning, what happened? Why no questions? Because once you go through the question paper, you'll come to know what kind of questions are in the question paper. Within 2-3 minutes, you'll come to know. Then slowly I started marking answers of those questions which I knew exactly. It was around 10 or 15 questions only, which I could guess and mark. And remaining everything was actually, you must have understood, in mathematics called application oriented questions. Heard about these kind of questions? Application oriented questions means if you take Hamlet, you read the story of Hamlet. But if the Hamlet is given in an application oriented, that instead of asking who is the hero of Hamlet, how Claudius killed senior Hamlet, they will give you a question and the background of the Hamlet. So in that application oriented questions, you need not to have any kind of preparation. There you need to have only thing is how can you understand and apply that information to the given question. So I wrote and I came out. So after that, what happened when result came, I cleared the written exam. So what I'm trying to tell you that sometimes whatever we do, all things will not work out. But only thing which work out in that situation is confidence. If you have confidence with less preparation, with less material, whether you may be from South India or North India, remote place, wherever you are, if you have confidence, you will definitely clear the exams. This is my experience. If you believe it, if you trust me, this is what makes everybody success in life. It is about our confidence. Even in Kendriya Vidyalaya exams also, I'll take 2 minutes. I'll just tell you, then we'll stop this session. Am I audible, Preeti?
Yes, sir.
Preeti is not there?
She's there, sir.
I suppose after listening that I didn't study properly but I cleared exam, she lost motivation to attend class. Preeti?
Yes, sir.
Are you there?
Yes, sir.
No, I thought when I told you that I didn't study English literature, I studied Telugu literature, but I
Sir,
become...
you have a logical brain, and I have seen that people who have logical brain have done great in literature. First of all, I think that I read those stories with my heart. I just imagine myself created a world. But sir, that doesn't work out in the exam.
Common exams, that doesn't work out. Okay, I thought you lost interest of my teaching, so you left. I thought, okay, at least fine, thank you, you came back. Even in even in KVS exams also, nowadays it is only objective, but during our time it was descriptive. First is prelims and second is mains. So for prelims, I have not prepared anything other than purchasing one book from Bangalore. I came to Bangalore from my hometown and I purchased one book for prelims and I referred that book. Actually, I was preparing for NET. So without any effort, I cleared prelims exam. When I cleared prelims exam, I become nervous how to prepare for mains exams. Then somebody told you purchase guidebooks of 11th class and 12th class, you will get the material. So I purchased. I purchased Upakar publications. All those things I purchased. And as Deepthi ma'am told, I didn't have any kind of previous year question papers. No reference to previous year question papers. Nothing was. I knew only thing that the question paper mains examination would be little difficult. That was the only thing I knew. And entire my preparation was in objective method. Diksha, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
So I prepared in objective way. Objective means like MCQ questions and multiple choice questions. Because I have to prepare for that only MCQ. So I prepared very well and One fine day I went to Hyderabad, Secunderabad actually, to write the mains examination. Okay, so in mains examination, when they gave us question paper, it was descriptive.
That means you are telling that in your time KVS exam.
Descriptive exam. Prelims was objective and mains was descriptive. Okay, so tell me, do you have more than this shock in exam? Have you ever experienced shock more than this?
No, sir.
Your preparation was exactly in the MCQ method. You prepared everything to write MCQ examination, but suddenly when you face a descriptive question paper, what will you do? Diksha.
At that time, I will have nothing to do. I'll show my best, so I'll do my best.
See, I was also blank. I was also really blank for 2-3 minutes. I saw the question paper. No answer was, no question was familiar to me. I kept the paper. I looked around the room. There were so many people who were seriously looking into the question paper and started writing by the time. Then I'm really speaking. I'm not emotional. I'm really speaking in a practical way. I'm speaking. I also kept the question paper down and I was thinking what to do. No question was able to write. So what shall I do? It took 2-3 minutes, but I understood one thing in that 2 minutes. See, at least I reached to this stage. Let us go with this. Let us not give up at this moment. Let us write whatever I could understand, whatever I could recollect. Then I started not with literature, though I studied literature in PG. I started with grammar. Okay, I started with a letter writing. I started with article writing. After completion of that, I picked up little confidence. Yes, I could write these things. So within, it was around 3 hours exam, I suppose, descriptive. So after 30-40 minutes, when I looked around here and there, then I saw 50% were blank, 50% were looking at me and smiling awkwardly. So that means they were also give up. So I sensed that, okay, 50% is out of competition now. Only 50%, because only in one room we were writing. English literature students were 44 from all 4 southern states, Kerala, Karnataka, Andhra and Tamil Nadu. Only 44 students were selected for English. So I thought 44 means like half of the percentage were not in competition, so let me continue writing. Then I came to Shakespeare, all those things, whatever I could remember. I told the technique, if you could remember, I told you to write a small paragraph, correct? Did you remember now?
Yes, sir.
So those kind of paragraphs I used to write, because I want to understand things. How could I understand things? Only when I put it in writing. So I used to write small paragraphs after reading the text. Then that paragraphs helped me that time, and I started writing answers to those questions. It was 120 marks paper. Okay, and I could complete 112 marks, I suppose. 112 or 113 marks only I could complete. Remaining, there was some question on metaphysical poetry or something I couldn't understand. So I left the question. So it was 120 marks paper. I attempted 111 or 112 marks. Okay. So can you tell me who was called first in the interview, in the first position?
You?
Yes,
Maybe
I
you.
was the one. I was the one who were called for the interview first on the first day, and I was the first person to be called in the interview. Okay.
That's amazing, sir.
I was the first one. I went to first time Delhi, and I was the first one who was called into the interview board. And my interview went on for 45 minutes. They grilled me, they toasted me, they burnt me, whatever they could do. All that board of panel of interview people, psychologists were there, subject experts were there, principals were there, and one person was sitting very silent and watching my actions coming, entering and to exit. So it went around 40 minutes. Okay. And I was also not so confident to face those board of in, because that was also first time, strange place, new people. So I was also not that much confident. But only one thing I did, still today I feel like laughing when I recollect what I did in the interview. I went to interview wearing what do you call suit. You know what is suit?
Yes, sir. Coat pant.
What do you call coat, jacket, or whatever you call tie and all those things. So I was the only one in that entire group wearing that suit, and I was looking very awkward in that group. All came in formal dresses, and I was with tie, all those things. Somebody asked me before interview when we were outside the school building, is it necessary to wear suit? I said yes, that will give marks. Somehow immediately within 10 minutes that person again appeared in front of me wearing one jacket. So I don't know what made him, but he felt. So it was 40 minutes. I was not very good at interview. I was not excellent in interview. I was like, if I could rate myself, I was average. And one lady was in that interview. She was very serious and she was asking questions continuously to me. And the technique they used, can I continue? It's 8:40. Can I continue? Few more minutes.
Sure, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, sir.
The technique which they used on me was, whenever they ask me any question, if I give answer to them immediately, they will not ask the question on the same topic. They will change the topic. Are you getting?
Yes, sir.
That means if they ask me about a Shakespeare question, if I give the answer to them immediately, they'll go to Victorian period. If I give answer to the question asked by Victorian period, they'll come to Puritan. So after 4-5 questions, I got struck with one question. And they started asking me the same question in a different manner, and I understood that I was caught. So I had to accept that I don't know the answer. And I realized very quickly that if I try to argue with those people, I will lose marks. So I immediately accepted, I surrendered. Yes, ma'am, I don't know. I really don't know. Then she asked me, being a literature student, how could you say that you don't know? I said, ma'am, I don't know, but I know other things. This question I don't know. You ask me other questions, I'll answer it. Then she asked me some other question. Luckily, I answered to that question. Okay. Then it went on 40 minutes. And then at the last, she asked me one question. In my biodata, I had written one preposition, wrong preposition. That means it's for and to, no? We use common for and to, like similar, both we use same prepositions. So I had written one preposition, wrong preposition in the sense it can be used to, it can be used for different way. So when she pointed out, see, being a postgraduate, as working as a lecturer already, you have not written a single sentence in a right way. How can we expect you to become a postgraduate and teach properly in the classroom? See, it was a kind of insult for me. Not only me, even if you are also in my position, you feel insulted, because that too one woman who's telling in front of everybody that you can't even write a single sentence, you can't even frame a single sentence. But something clicked in me. Like, there are different kinds of interviews, they test our attitude. Okay, you are getting what I'm speaking?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So for teacher, it is not only the subject knowledge, it is also attitude is also important. So somewhere I read before going to interview that they may test even attitude also, the teacher. So whenever they give this kind of a whenever they create this kind of a stressful situation, we should not lose our control. So then I again accepted my mistake and I said, I'll rectify my mistakes, ma'am. I might have committed my mistake. I will rectify, ma'am. I accept the mistake. Then immediately she told me asked me one question. If you do the same thing in classroom and if your students point out, what will you do? I said, I'll accept, ma'am. If the error or mistake if I committed in front of students, I will accept it and I'll rectify that. And she looked into my eyes seriously and she said, do you really do that? I said, yes, ma'am, I'll do that. And then I can see a kind of a smile in her eyes, and she told me, okay, now you may leave the interview. Then when I looked into her eyes, I understood that I impressed her. Okay. So why I am telling all these things is, sometimes you have to know the techniques, tactics to impress people in your life. Because clearing written examination in one part, it is your knowledge, but clearing interview is actually impressing or creating a kind of a positive impression on you so that you will get through the interviews. And when I came out after 40 minutes, I was the first candidate. So I was the first candidate, so everybody was waiting for me. When I came out, they asked me questions. I said I couldn't understand what actually went wrong. It was tough for me. They were asking so many questions and I was not able to tell them right answers. But in that group, somebody come and told me, he pat on my shoulder and he told, Swamy, you pack your luggage and ready for Northeast posting. I said, see, I am not confident that I would clear the examination, clear the interview, because it was so tough for me. Then he told that whoever attends interview and whosoever interview goes beyond half an hour, they are going to be selected. There is no doubt. Swamy, you pack your luggage and ready for Northeast exam. Okay. So when the result came, I was selected and I was posted to West Bengal. Now tell me, are you better than me or not? Tell me, Diksha. Tell me, Preeti.
No, sir.
You are far better than me. You are all actually good students. You are all actually hardworking students. What is the difference between you and me is, I understood the examination requirements. I understood the interview requirements, the demands of the exam, the demands of the recruitment. The day you understand what is actually the exam is expecting from you, what the interviewers are expecting from you, you will become successful in each and every exam. If you prepare blindly without keeping the end target, end result, then even if you write 100 times, hundreds exams also, you may not clear. I'll tell you one more example. One of my colleagues is a very good human being. I can see the best of the best human beings in my life I have seen. He's a teacher working in a private school. He gave 10 or 12 attempts to become a teacher in government school. Every time he used to fail. It doesn't mean that he has no qualities, he has no potential. He has potential, but he never prepared according to the examination point of view. So the orientation is important. The way you take the test, the way you attempt the test is more important than your preparation. So what I believe, sincerely I'm speaking, I'm not just flattering anybody, I'm not trying to praise anybody unnecessarily here without wasting your time. I too believe, I strongly believe you are all good and better than me. Only thing is, you don't have good guidance. You don't know the strategies to clear examination like many students in this India. So I am here to tell you, I am here to help you. But as I told you in the beginning, I can help only 20%. Remaining 80% from your side I expect. Can I expect that?
Yes, sir. Definitely.
Yes, sir.
See, I'm not expecting money from you. I never asked fees and everything in this class. I told many of you, money is not important for us. Money is not our motto to start this kind of coaching classes. There is something beyond which we want to achieve in life other than these materialistic things. But I expect your sincere cooperation and sincere support so that you become successful in your life and we'll get satisfaction of making you to become successful in life. So that is what actually we are trying to do in our life. So why I told all these stories in a fun way is, I was not a literature student. I was not interested in literature. I was not having good command over language English. I was from a rural background. I was not a good student at all. But only thing which made me to successful and only thing which made people like us to become successful is, we know the tactics of the examination. We know the tricks of the trade. With those tricks of the trade and a little hard work, we cleared this exam. There are so many people, I suppose, in and around you must have heard about your people in your neighborhood. One person had given 4 exams, 5 exams, cleared all the exams. Then it became a confusion for that person which post he has to go or she has to go. Have you seen such kind of people? Heard about such kind of people?
Yes, sir. My own answer, sir.
So what is the difference between you and them? Huh? There is something different, correct?
Yes, sir. Difference is there that.
Shall I tell you? The hard truth.
Yes, sir, please.
Shall I tell
Yes,
you the
sir.
hard fact, harsh realities?
Sure, sir.
You should accept it.
I'll do, sir.
You're all focusing on your problems than your potential, and we focused on our
Exactly.
potential than our problems.
That's why I've told you, sir, no, that I have wasted many of my time, many of my years in discussing the problem and discussing the fear, sir.
So all of you try to understand in this session. There are so many people like you who are also having problems, but they become successful in life because they have not focused on problems. They are focused on their potential. So try to focus on your potential. You will definitely clear exams. I am here. I will not leave anybody in this classroom without becoming a government servant or teacher in your exams. So I know what I am. I know to what extent I can go and to trouble you to make you to become successful in this. But only thing, let me tell you, I can't write your exams. I can't write your exams. I can make you to become successful if you support from your side, if I get support from your side. So this is only simple one thing I want to say. Thus, the difference between people like you and the difference between the people who succeed in life, you are focusing on the problems and they focused on their potential. Try to focus on your potential. Think less about your problems, think more about your potential. Where you are strong, you will definitely become government servants, you will definitely become teachers in your life. I am 100% confident I'll make you to clear these exams. Are you all confident?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
You're
sir.
all, you're all good students. Really, I'm telling you, I told to Nagaraj sir, I told to Ashatapa sir, no, I feel lot of tension to prepare for your classes. I have to study a lot and I never studied like this. If I had studied like this, no, I would have cleared these kind of exams. Maybe, I don't know, after first rank, what kind of rank I used to get, but I never used to study seriously. I never used to like studies, but always, I don't know why. I was a college topper, I was a university topper. All those exams I was a topper. So it happens. It happens to people. It happens sometimes it happens. So this time only I am preparing very seriously to teach you so that I will not communicate any kind of wrong information in the classroom. So I also have a lot of fears. No, I also have fear what kind of question Deepthi ma'am will ask, what kind of question Diksha will ask, what will ask Preeti. So I'll also think all in your perspective. Then only I'll prepare notes and then only I prepare the question paper. So fear motivates us. Lack of fear, temporary satisfactions will not make us successful in life. I suppose I took a lot of time today, but this session is important. The reason is after few days you feel classes monotonous. Am I right? Diksha?
Yes, sir.
You feel classes monotonous, correct? After few days.
No, sir. No.
See, it's a human tendency. If we don't have that kind of ignition frequently, we lose motivation and we lose charm, we lose some kind of that energy and all those things. So that's why these kind of sessions are also important. I appreciate that you all came forward and expressed your problems and all those things. And then to end this session, let me tell you, don't focus on your problems. Everybody has problems. Everybody has problems. And you are in a better position. You are in a better position. There are so many people who don't have at least your kind of life. So be thankful and work hard. Work hard in the sense, work smart, not hard, so that you will become successful in life. So shall we call it a day?
Yes, sir.
Is it too lengthy today?
No, sir. No, sir.
But monthly
This
once
class
only.
was very helpful.
Monthly once only, and please don't lose trust on me. I may not be a very good student, I may not be a very good teacher, but I know the tricks of the trade. I'll help you and I'll tell you. Okay. But
Sir, through your Quora page,
uh,
I wanted to take classes, means I wanted to learn under you, sir. When I first saw your Quora page from there only, sir, I have made up my mind that anyhow I wanted to contact you, and so I got the chance.
thank you,
That is
Diksha.
my
Thank you. And I was also not ready to start this kind of coachings and all those things because, see, I value freedom more than money. I don't want to lose my freedom for money. So that was my, ambition in my life. I don't want to lose my freedom. So if once I thought of starting coaching, then I'll get locked. I can't move freely. Every time it is in my mind to prepare and to teach you properly. So that's why I took a lot of time, lot of I had to think whether I have to start or not. I delayed. That is the reason, because I will lose my freedom. Once I give a commitment, I should fulfill the commitment. That's why it took a lot of time. And let us see in the early class. But this kind of sessions I don't conduct on regular basis. Maybe monthly once we will do such kind of a session, so that we can share your problems and emotions with each other. Okay. I suppose Preeti left lack of motivation after listening that I was very bad student, bad teacher. She left, I suppose.
No, sir.
Okay, so I'll share the question paper. I have prepared the question paper, and you please attend the question paper. By tomorrow 9 p.m. you submit the question paper. Will you do that?
Sure, sir.
Right.
Sure, sir.
Right. Good day, all of you. Not good night. Okay. Bye. Take care.
Okay. Take care, sir.
Bye. అయిపోయింది. అంటే పాపం వాళ్ళకి ఈసారి చెప్పాలి కదా, ఒక రోజున ఇట్లా చెప్పాలన్నమాట. అయిపోయింది, క్లాస్ అయిపోయింది రండి.